Public meeting to order.
Hey, listen, plantation.
All right, guys.
That's what we're doing, plantation.
Ready. Hi. All right, so let's all turn up for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So just as a reminder, if anybody would like to sign up to speak, please just sign up.
And please be sure you signed in if you're.
As well, okay. Roll call in attendance, we have Carol, Doug, Ed, Bob, and myself. I need a motion for the approval of the final agenda.
So,
Second. So I have a motion and a second on favor?
Aye.
Public comment. On?
Oh, well, I have one in person, and then the board did receive an email from Rod Senior. He just asked that it be added to the record. I'm gonna ask the board if you want me to actually read the email into the record, or if you want me just to take the email and include it as part of the packet. along with the other.
I read it. Did everyone read it?
I read
I
it.
think it just-
Just include it.
It's included.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
I have it in the folder, so it's already part of the meeting,
Perfect.
the meeting for today.
All right.
All right, so then we have one public comment from Margaret Feinberg regarding storm drain pipe cleaning, weir and flowway inspections, including FPL easement and catch basin inspections. You still only get 3 minutes.
It's okay. I can get it in there.
It's like an auctioneer. Have at her.
Margaret Feinberg, Stony Brook at Gateway, here representing myself, not anyone else. And I was listening with great intensity to the storm drain cleaning. And the last time that Stony Brook had any inspection or cleaning was in 2016. So I'm wondering, when is it going to roll around that we get our storm drain pipes cleaned? And is anybody monitoring the weir and the flowways to make sure everything is still in good order? I have got exposed TRM behind my house, so we need to bring more rock in. The water's low enough now that you can see where it's exposed. So have they done any monitoring of the lakes that have already been done to know that the rock is still in place? And did the weir inspections, the catch basins, have you considered going in and probing the catch basins just to make sure that they aren't clogged and full and all the flotsam is out of them?
Those basins 1, 2, and 3 we talked about earlier. You're in 3.
3, yeah.
We're in 3. Okay, so that would be coming up
That's
this
what-
year,
That's the project we're talking about right now.
Within the next 3 years, I think is what,
3 years.
Well,
within,
it was bid that way, but
But we don't know if.
we don't know for sure
We don't
how
know
it's
if
going
that
to work.
basin's gonna be the first, the second, or the third.
The award of that contract will be at the next board meeting.
The next board meeting. Okay,
The 2 projects in Basin 1 and 2 are so minor, a couple of weeks, they're done.
okay.
So we need to combine and merge all these into one contract, and we go and get them done as quick as we can.
Get them done.
But your Basin 3 is the last one, and I believe that includes a part of, if not all of Hampton Park also is in Basin 3.
And the weir in Stony Brook, where the exit weir, that needs to be inspected because that usually has a lot of vegetative growth around it to make sure that's all
That should
cleaned
be-
out.
that should be
That's
included.
under regular maintenance,
Yeah, yeah.
We know when it was done last?
Well, we can.
Was it
I can-
littorals or something?
Not
Now,
littorals,
the
it's,
trees, like branches and stuff, like,
Yeah.
yeah, the entrance is, I haven't been there, but usually that's what it is.
I haven't been out there to inspect it either recently, but I will do that.
we should be getting to a point where we do season review. So in preparation for hurricane season, there should be probably a checklist of things we're gonna look at: weirs, flowways,
Flowways.
you know, all that.
Well, that's one that we don't have any ability to raise or lower. It's fixed.
That's true, but
It's
you
fixed.
do have ability to make sure it's clean so that,
And clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Margaret?
that was it.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Anybody else?
Was even
Nope,
less.
that was it. No one online has their hand raised.
All right, local achievements and recognition, do you have
Um,
anything?
I do have one. Georgia, I want to give some kudos to her. I did get kudos from a member on the PPAC committee. I don't think that people realize how many hours a week she spends with putting their agendas together for their committee meetings and answering emails back and forth and trying to coordinate things to make sure that everything goes smoothly. in addition to the board meeting. So, but someone on PPAC last week, when I had the meeting with them, did pull me aside and said that they wanted to congratulate her on her hard work and how she keeps everything together and makes sure that they have everything that they need for her meetings, for their meetings. So
I'll let her know.
I don't have anything else.
There you go, Sherry. Advisory committees and items to report. So Pelican Preserve, PPCA.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, a second?
Aye.
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 We don't have consent agenda items.
Motion to approve 9A.
I have a motion on the floor. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
District engineer.
He, Stephen Agapi is online. He said he was unable to make it in person. So
Okay.
I do see.
Stephen, you there?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Stephen Agapi, Tetra Tech District
Steve.
Engineer. All right, you guys are looking at our task authorization update. We did add a third column in the dates for a TA end date per request of the board last time. So if you have any more comments on that, we can, continue to refine this to, try to help with transparency. So first up, irrigation pump station generator. Again, we're waiting for the generator to be delivered in, January. So we've got another 6-7 months to go here. That project is not really doing much yet. Irrigation force main improvements. Again, we're waiting for funding with HMGP to really move forward and bid the project. On our side of things, we're working with Randy on bid documents, finalizing some SPTs, some geotechnical reports, items like that. Lower Hawthorne Well, we had a progress meeting this week. It looks like we're on schedule to be completed with the project in the end of September, maybe early October. They are drilling the well right now, and they should be out of the way sometime in June or July. Gateway's utility storage building, that project, we are waiting for the contractor to start work. They are in the permitting process with the building department. They just got comments back from the building department, so they need to resubmit to get the building permit. The building is being manufactured right now. None of the comments looked like it would make changes to the building, so there's no concern there. The admin building, there is an item on the agenda for the admin building and the master park plan. So, Eric's on the call also right now, but maybe we can skip those and we can talk about that during the agenda item. Phase 2, Year 2 lake bank restoration. These are Met Towers lakes for 127 and 130. Again, just a reminder, we're waiting for lower water levels to do this work. They're shooting for maybe December as the earliest, but we'll see. It'll be based on water elevations. FY25 lake bank design. We didn't receive any comments on 90% yet. We're still waiting for the county to finish their permit review. So any comments we'll have from them will be incorporated into the final bid set. We will be, over the next couple of weeks, submitting to SRF for their review ahead of the August hearing. So that's kind of a status update on that one. FY24 lakes, B&Z and Extreme Divers are continuing to work in Daniels Preserve. Lake 78 is pretty much done. They just need to do littorals and some punch list items. Extreme Divers on Lake 82 is getting really close to finishing up with rock. They should have the dewatering pump out on the 23rd. So I think 7 days from now, they should have that pump out of there and the water should be returning back to normal elevations and just be doing restoration work from there. So they should be done in Daniels Preserve by the end of the month, maybe early June. MRI has the contract with the remaining lakes. They sent us a schedule to start in June. They let us know this week that they plan on starting in June. So we're going to have a pre-construction meeting with them in the coming, hopefully coming days, but maybe next week, and really see what is possible for them to get done this year before it starts raining like crazy. Public Works Storage Building. Eric, I don't know if you can hear me. I know you're muted right now. do you want to jump in and give an update for that one?
Sure. We've been working on 90% design. Put in there that completion was anticipated by the 10th. I just got an update from our sub-consultant that we are waiting on landscape revisions, and then they need to finalize their OPC. So I should have those documents today or tomorrow. It has put us behind schedule, and it's noted there anticipated completion date changed from 4/11 to 5/19/2025.
We are working on a change order to address the contractual timeline extension.
Correct, and that'll be the 90% design review will be on the agenda for your next meeting on June 6th. Once approved, permit applications will be submitted for that project.
I'm going to skip over master park plan because that's another agenda item today. FGUA, we're waiting for them to start construction. Last we heard, they were still waiting to get their permit from Lee County. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to provide.
Stand in line.
Development updates, Arborwood. Lennar is working to address the comments that we had on our stormwater review. Stormwater and utilities have not been conveyed yet. So that's kind of an ongoing issue there. Daniels Parkway Apartments, we're waiting for them to find a solution for reuse water. I think, staff's working and their developer is working on that issue. Santa
And Tony.
Luz, and Tony, yeah. Sorry, when I said staff, I meant to include Tony in that. So hopefully we'll find some agreement there and be able to move forward on that one. Santa Luz, they have not completed all of the restoration behind the units. So we're continuing to follow up with Lennar on that. Garrett FM, this is the Alta rezone. We did provide comments and they're working through our comments right now for a third resubmittal. So
And
that's enough.
Stephen, the warranty walkthrough that you scheduled with Daniel and myself for Monday, that's the Stony Brook Ponds, correct?
It's two of them. I'm not sure which ones Margaret is talking about, but we are planning to do a warranty walkthrough on Lake 62 and 58. They have a 1-year warranty that will expire for 62 this month. And then on 58, the largest lake in Gateway, that warranty period will expire in mid-June. So we're going to get those warranty walkthroughs out of the way and, get anything addressed, including, exposed fabric. Hopefully Margaret's talking about one of those lakes. So that can be addressed.
Staff will follow up on that. But I just wanted to make
We
it,
needed this is probably the third time that we're adding rock to that specific location.
okay. I just wanted the board to hear that once we do final completion and the ponds for the large construction pond bank restoration, we put a tickler on all of our calendars to check for warranty work within the warranty period. So that way we can make any claims on it. So we're being proactive in that sense.
So, Stephen, we have 4 more months left in the 2024 budget year. What's not going to get done?
As far as lake banks?
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as lake banks, 127 and 130, which, that got bid to Met Tower years ago. That's not going to be done before the fiscal year ends. And I don't know how many MRI is going to be able to do. I think there's smaller lakes that they have. I believe they could probably do, depends on how many people they throw at it. They could do all of them. I think they can at least do 1, maybe 2 at a minimum.
Okay, that's 78 and 82, right?
Those
You're
are done.
78 and
Those are
82
done.
will be
Oh, those are
done
done.
at the end of this month. Yeah, so it'd be
Okay.
Lake 59, 105, 125, and 128. So
Okay.
MRI, they were awarded that contract, and we've been working through with them trying to get their bond in order and trying to get them scheduled. They're finally
Stephen,
to that point.
You want to touch on the change order that is going to be required for the 20-foot, the lake maintenance easement
Yes.
clearance, since it wasn't, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so we're gonna have to work with MRI, as directed by the board to remove any trees that are not required by the DO, to remove any trees that are within the lake maintenance easement. So that is one item that we will be working with them on. Chelsea asked us to get a cost estimate or a scope for surveying to go ahead of MRI to get the LME staked, to get the trees identified and get notices out to the residents in a proactive manner ahead of MRI mobilizing. So we're working on that today. Like an hour ago, I got an estimate from AIM to do that surveying. So I'll be sharing that with Chelsea, and then we can game plan with MRI and a surveyor to get that work, specified. So hopefully they'll be more accommodating to do the change order work, but there's also the challenge of coordinating with SRF to get them to approve that change order work to remove those trees as part of the lakes project, which, as long as it's not a huge dollar amount, they may go along with, if we can justify it's part of the project and it's necessary. But they may not.
Okay, Ed has a question.
Hey, Steve, where are we at on 109? Golf course is going to be starting to sprig the golf course within the next 30 to 60 days.
On Lake 109, the permits have been submitted. We have called a lot of people at Lee County trying to get a conversation to express our urgency in that development review. We have had no success. We've sent emails. So I don't know if someone can pull some strings over there, but we're still waiting for a permit on Lake 109. We have
So it's South Florida, South Florida
No.
Water Management District or Lee County?
with Lee County. But to your point about the timing with the golf course, when we met with David Spiegel, I believe, he said he could accommodate a contractor and leave some room for them to do the work, even if, we couldn't beat them to it. So Chelsea tasked me with making sure I follow up with him and, make sure that's still on the table and we can continue coordinating with the contractors.
Who at the counties holding it up that need to talk to?
I'm not sure exactly who's holding it up. There's a lot of reviewers involved, but the lead reviewer is Aixa, who Chelsea has some background with. So I don't know if she can reach out to her directly or not, but yeah.
Okay.
So we're waiting on the permit to begin construction.
I don't think we want to start construction without a permit.
Heaven forbid. With us with a wet noodle.
All right, any other questions for Tetra Tech?
No.
All right, thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
You're welcome.
Admin agenda items, landscaping, architectural services. Ed.
So let me back up. The district, as part of the 2023 bond series budget, we have funding available for the master system irrigation replacement. As you all know, our irrigation system throughout Gateway and the common areas is very outdated and needs to be replaced. We asked Tetra Tech if they had a landscape architect available to assist us in designing a new irrigation system. They did not. And so we had to put out an RFQ, which is driven by, tell me the state statute that it's driven by.
287.055, the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act. That's a qualification-based proposal submittal process without compensation articulated in the proposals.
So ultimately, this RFQ, we received two submittals, one from RWA and one from Holmontes. And we are asking the board to rank the firms as follows. And if you agree with the ranked firms, authorize staff to negotiate those prices with the firm or firms.
To negotiate prices.
We
We haven't
haven't
done
done
anything yet.
You can negotiate a contract which includes compensation, because under the CCNA, compensation is not part of the proposal or submittal.
So we're looking for your direction.
And the direction is you decide who the first ranked firm is and authorize staff to negotiate a contract, come back. If the staff's unsuccessful in negotiating a contract, then authorize staff to negotiate with the second ranked firm.
My only thing on this, and I've talked to Chelsea about it and sent Daniel a deal. I was a little concerned that when I was expecting an RFP like this or an RFQ, that they would have come back and maybe said, well, my vision for Gateway would be a linear system doing this, that, and the other. They basically said nothing. There's nothing. My concern is that do either of them or do both of them have knowledge of the system we just put in at Gateway Greens, which is the top technology there is in landscaping, called this baseline. They didn't even mention that term in either of the proposals.
Do we ask that question in the RFI or RFP?
At this point, we didn't ask for a project specific. We're just qualifying
The vendors.
the vendors. And then like we do with the district engineer, once you qualify them, then you ask for a task authorization for project specific.
But if they
Well, I
haven't
guess to
ever-
Ed's point, I think the question would be, do you have any initial thoughts on the proposed structure
Yeah.
or and we would not.
They've never heard of
outbound-
it. That's scary.
Both have experience with not necessarily baseline per se, but something similar. Baseline is like a model. There's variations of that type of irrigation control system.
It's a vendor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the issue is I just want to make sure they understand it. We need to step up out of the archaic node system we've had and the rainbirds that we've had here since this was a farm 40 years ago.
Well,
We got to move up and get new equipment.
It was made clear that this master irrigation system replacement was
Master.
it's an intended project that we intend on moving forward on as soon as possible.
Well, I think we should make it very clear to these vendors that what we're looking for is to bring Gateway up to not only current standards, but also be forward thinking.
Best technology.
So we're looking for,
I move to approve staff's recommendation of RWA as number 1 and Whole Montes as number 2.
And authorize staff to negotiate with RWA and if successful, bring the contract back to the board. If not, then negotiate with Whole Montes.
What he
What you
said.
just said.
Yes.
So we have a motion,
Second.
we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next,
So this next one, if you recall, you all tabled this item to this meeting. Staff's recommendation stands to reject all bids, direct the engineer to redraft an RFP and resolicit.
Tony, I have a question for you. Were you able to look into what you and I talked about without really talking about?
Yeah, no, that would be inappropriate to contact that particular vendor. If you have any questions?
So this is with our utilities
Yes, ma'am.
section,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So the idea of doing the closed circuit television is to find out if we have leaks or
Yeah.
what?
Breaks,
Breaks,
needs
leaks?
repairs. We haven't
Cleaning.
been in them for 40 years.
Cleaning.
Condition.
What
Okay, is this another one of those things where once you do it,
Yes,
you don't have to do it
As thorough.
Yeah.
as thoroughly?
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, and I think in your, the budget discussion, you had asked if this should be maybe a 5, 7, or 10-year program,
Yes, ma'am.
type thing. This, what you're proposing right here is only a 5?
Yes.
What
What
proposed?
was proposed
This
is a
that's
5
going
year.
to be the decision. I think the engineer comes back to us with recommendations.
So question, are we doing anything different the next go around?
The engineer will be drafting the scope and staff will not.
The only thing is that I know that Tony did pull, I mean, I know I looked at it because I requested, but Tony pulled in those bids that we received. So unless you guys request it, you guys have no visibility of what the bids and the amounts came in, right?
Say it again.
The documents that were attached to that were removed from last meeting.
Yeah, we've seen the bids.
You have seen it. I have seen it because I asked Chelsea.
Yeah.
But Bob and Carol and Doug
Oh,
have not.
oh.
So because there are implications to it. It's not because I'm on
Look,
the
I
fence with this
I
one.
think
Because there's a huge cost difference if we reject this bid.
it's, the first bid is, the low bid is 1 million. The second low bid is 2.8. The third is 2.7, 3.5, and 6.
So if we reject
So
it,
way,
I know, so
I don't think we have any choice because the bids are, it needs to be redone.
So is the main, okay, so let me ask you this. So the main reason for you, because I want to just understand this, is it because of how it was written, the scope of the work? That
Yes.
there's a lack of something or is too much of something?
Well, just give you a good example. One of the requirements we have, that we put into the specifications, is you can't enter a manhole. How do you clean a manhole in a sewer? Has anybody ever done it before? I've done millions of feet of pipe, never seen one done without going in the sewer. Why would you write that? Why would we write oblivious requirements to produce as-built information when the purpose of this is cleaning and televising? Great, it would be nice to have, but this work is labor intensive, takes time. And if you have to mark all the sewer lines, the, what do you call it, the wise connections and all that to put that in the system, that's fine. It'll just cost you a lot of money. And where my company up in Indiana just was doing this on a very similar project, and the cost was between $3.75 and $4. These prices were double that. And it's because we're asking for a lot of superfluous stuff. Granted, it'd be nice to have that. I don't know that we have the money to pay for it, because right now we're looking, if you go 5 years, $2.5 million, that's $500,000 a year, $100 a house for the next 5 years that goes on to the deal.
Not if we go with, well, it depends which one of them that you go with.
Well, I'm going with the second and third. One was 2.4, and the other one was 2.6.
Yeah.
So they were so close. That's why I said 2.5 divided by 5 is
The other one
500,000 a
is
year.
1.8.
And what's wrong with the million?
No, there was $1 million, and then it jumped, I believe, to 2.4 and 2.6. I don't think there was in one.
Yeah,
Wait,
I'm not
that-
aware
if
of
that's,
that. I thought it was a
I-
$90,000.
I may be wrong. I thought it was
Because
$1,500,000.
if we could get all of that or under 1 million.
Well, what-
If you've got that
Chelsea, can you
that might change a
clarify?
little bit.
So
I
that's
was-
what, so
I wasn't aware of
I'm
that.
just afraid that if we go out there.
What is
now
the
they
bid?
know
I
that
wasn't
it's
aware of
bid,
that.
and then it's gonna cost
Laura's pulling it up.
I-
Tony, is it appropriate
Tony,
to share
you
on the
had-
screen?
Well, yeah, okay, in this instance, when the number, in this instance, again, there are a number of bids and one bidder made a mistake. And it was brought to his attention and asked whether or not he was going to withdraw or affirm and confirm the bid within a 72-hour period. During that time frame, no response was provided. After the 72 hours passed, the bidder said, I withdraw my bid. So the question becomes, as a matter of law, did the district accept his bid? Because the district didn't respond affirmatively saying, okay, now that 72 hours is up, we've accepted your bid. Or can we assert that the bid was accepted by us not rejecting the bid at that time from that individual?
And
Either
that
way-
was the low bidder, correct?
Yes, and so the question becomes, if the district was to award the bid to that low bidder, and if the bidder, he said, no, I withdrew my bid, then we'd have to try to go after the bid bond. And we'd always have a nice fight with surety companies to try to get the money for the bid bond to pay the cost of re-advertising or rebidding. And so we'd still be in the position of rebidding at some point in time. I think that's sort of the scenario that we talked about.
What was the mistake? I can't remember.
We don't know.
Well,
I don't
we do know, but I don't think it's.
Okay.
If it's not, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, the issue is the fact that he has withdrawn the bid and says he made a mistake. It's a dud issue, but I was not aware there was a second bid at 1.8. I thought there was one and it jumped to 2.4.
Yeah, no, the 1.8.
Who's right?
There's just 3. So the one that was under 2, and then the other 2.
I don't think so. I don't
Can
think so.
we
Tony,
clarify
Would
that?
it be appropriate to show,
The number, yes.
okay,
Or just say,
Laura's gonna show it.
Please.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but this is the one that's a huge difference.
Yeah, those are the second two were the 2 and 3. It would have been nice to know in the post-bid interview what the low bidder said. If I was doing it, I'd done it a little differently. I have a list of questions, and when I've had this happen before, a list of questions that you ask the guy. But if it's over, our choice is you either go to the second low bidder at 2.4, or we rebid the thing and rebid it with, I think, better written specs that will get us better prices. And some of the things that we're asking for, we could delete to get the cost down.
So
Because
what-
this is expensive.
what you're saying is if we tweak the requirements, you think we will get bids lower than 2.4 because we will remove some of the requirements out?
Yeah, I did my estimates based upon the prices that my firm's doing up north, and I was coming in around 1.8 million. But it's just it's the market. It's what you've got. That's why I would like to talk to before, and this is the job of the engineer. If they go out to rewrite these, go to these 4 or 5 companies and talk to them. Something is definitively wrong when you have that kind of a differential between bids. Something's wrong. Just doesn't make sense. Like Tony said on the bid bond, keep in mind, the bid bond's going to be about what? 45, 50,000 bucks.
5%.
For $45,000, $50,000 to go off and tick off the low bidder as much as I think that it deserves consideration. I don't think you want to do it. He may have made a mistake that at 1.8, he'd be happy as a lark. So why do we want to lose a potential low bidder?
Right.
So that's why I'd like to have, before we do anything, have our engineer talk to at least 2 and 3 here and say, hey, what happened? These prices are basically double market prices. Why'd you bid so high?
But can we do that if we're gonna throw this out and rebid?
Can't do it before you rebid, I don't think.
So that's,
No.
yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
No, and, but,
It's knowledge you gained after the fact.
yeah, and again, I think the important factor is if the bid specs are going to be changed significantly or to be for a better product, to do from a technical perspective, which coupled with this issue, I think our recommendation stands to reject all bids.
What's
So-
the risk or the priority of us getting this done, or the driver getting this done in within the next, budget season?
So-
2024, 25.
I don't think
So-
it's an issue.
The financing was the biggest concern, the dollar amount, and making sure that number is incorporated into the rate study. That way we have the funding for whatever you choose, if you choose 5, 7, 10 years. So what we've done in the interim, this needs to be done. I don't know, Ed, you can probably speak
Totally
better
agree.
to it. I don't know that it's ever been done as a system-wide cleaning.
Right.
There's been spot cleans.
So there's risk here for us to not do it because we don't know
We got to do it.
We need
We
to do it.
really need to do it.
This is
I
a-
think what Chelsea's right. We just need to set, because this is utility work. This is an 001. So we need to get to Raftellus and let them know, guys, we need to be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 a year for the next 5 years. Ballpark.
If you choose,
fund this.
if you choose to do it over a 5-year span. So what we've
Yeah.
told Raftellus right now is to plug in $2.5 million. Now, the
What is-
question is, do you want that over a 5-year,
7
7 or 10?
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, we got
What is the downside of doing 10?
Hasn't been
having a
checked for
big
4
major,
years.
Yeah,
having a big major storm sanitary sewer repair that we could have fixed, and now all of a sudden it's a lot bigger problem.
but you haven't done it for 40. So-
That's the dice you roll. Carol, no other community does this.
The maximum I
Nobody
would
does it.
recommend because of the timeline would be 7. Now, we did get word,
Why 7?
because of how long it's been since we've done this and hot spots we hit the hot spots every year near Saucy and things like that, but this is to get eyes on our entire system, make sure our GIS is up to date, make sure the thorough cleaning is done, as founds. We've had some of those, but we did get word. Bill actually reached out to a contact down in Collier, and we're trying to get confirmation from FDEP, but there may be some requirements coming down from state that we are going to be
Mandate.
forced to do a certain amount. So we're trying to get ahead of that.
Okay,
Ideally, 5, but if we're trying to stretch the funding, 7 would be the most I would go.
I go,
okay, then I would like to recommend that you do 7.
Okay, so let's first have a motion on, what
Reject.
step
Reject
three
the bid.
item, which is.
I'll make a motion, we reject the bid.
Reject all bids.
And authorize staff to
Goes
rebid.
out to,
Would you say, Tony?
And authorize staff to rebid.
yes.
Yes.
doesn't-
Sorry.
All right,
Second that.
I was getting ready to say.
so we have a motion and second on favor?
Aye.
So I will be requesting of Tetra Tech a task authorization for drafting an RFP and bringing that back to you hopefully at your June 6th meeting. So we'll have that incurred cost.
I have a
Would you please, go ahead.
Would we be comfortable giving there's gonna be a price difference if they just do the whole entire thing from scratch versus taking what we have and tweaking it? Or no, is it gonna be the same price?
I'll rely
They're that bad.
on the engineer to tell it.
Okay, no, that's fine, just,
Can they do this though? Get a hold of these bidders quickly. to find out exactly what was the problem, because we have stuff in those specifications that are definitely,
If that's the board's direction, I can give
I-
that,
I
pass that to
I mean,
Ted.
that's just normal deal. When something like this happens, you want to find out what happened. You don't want to do it twice.
Right.
And just find out. I'd really love to hear for Shenandoah, because if his is something simple, we still got him that looks like a potential. Usually when you have a bid like this, that man doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, I suggest this.
So he just cannot tell us, so that's maybe a conversation that you can have with Tony after the meeting. so
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
that-
I agree. I suggest just focus on direction to the engineer to contact the bidder.
So
Thank you.
I don't know what it is.
Do we have
so
the
you
vote?
know.
Do we have
Yes,
the
we're
vote?
Good.
Good.
Okay.
And just for
Okay. I
clarity,
move that we make it a 7-year program.
We don't want, okay, so I'll second for the discussion. So we don't want to wait for the engineer to tell us, Tetra Tech to tell us 5 or 7?
They're gonna ask you, you want it in 5 years or 7 years or
Well,
10
they're the
years?
engineer firm. They're the one that.
I think what they need to go is out and open some manholes up as a part of this process and see how bad it is. Can it wait 7?
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're not gonna do that.
That's their job. It's what I did. I did it for 4 years.
Well,
You
do
go
it
out
for
and open
nothing
up the
then.
manholes and you look. Do what?
I'll give you a hand. We'll go do it.
You send a man in there.
I don't think
I'm
it
too
would,
old for
I don't
that
think it
anymore.
would be too bad if we wait and ask for a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that could be the scope of the task authorization to, prepare that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
more
it's gonna
worried
make
with
a
what
difference
she's
to a
talking about,
bidder
and
if it's
coming
a
on
5-year
board and
program
catching
or
us on the
7-year
backside.
program. Or a 10-year
Mandate.
program.
Yeah, that's.
Well, they could, they should be able to turn that around before it goes out to bid and let us know. Our recommendation is that we include that this be a blah, blah, blah.
or
well,
whatever they.
Yeah,
whatever they say. And then we can have discussion around
The
that.
time, the
Yeah,
time
but
to
the
take.
timeline affects the amount that you're gonna ask that guy in the rate study to put in there for this.
Well, that's what she said. She's already told him a budgetary number to do. The only thing that we need to do
To
right
break down.
now is to determine whether or not we're gonna stay 5 or 7.
And I have not told him to either 5 or 7. I just said to plug in 2.5.
2.5 million. Okay.
Correct.
And just so I'm clear, I know that,
I mean,
uh,
2.5 million total.
Total.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that we'd said one of the previous board meetings that we want our engineers or vendors to, actually, we said specifically, we want Tetra Tech to be, creating these RFI requirements for projects that are engineering projects. I just want to make sure that we're structuring this appropriately, because we've got Randy, who's part of his job is to do contracts, and I would imagine manage the RFI process.
The communication with vendors
Yeah,
when it
okay.
goes out, yes.
Yeah, so
And Tetra Tech for drafting.
I think the way that I would structure it is Randy manages the RFI, RFP process. However, the requirement is that anything that requires engineering or vendor specialization, that we make sure that we have the input from those individuals. But Randy is still responsible for managing the process. And it should be building subject matter expertise in that
Yeah,
area as well.
He's generally handling the general conditions,
Yeah.
requirements. The engineer's handling the detailed specification requirements. We need to seriously look at some of our general engineer or general conditions. We've got, I don't know, last count, I think like 32 pages of general conditions.
Yeah.
That
Carrying
is
some of the-
very, that
carrying some
that is
suppliers.
very, very.
No, I completely
Again,
understand the stance.
getting
I just want to make sure that we're positioning our staff to where they're managing what they're supposed to, and the expectation is they go outside to our engineer or to whoever specialists in those areas when we're
Yeah.
creating these things, because it's critical. I mean, these
Oh, yeah.
bids are really, really important.
I have
Big deal.
one extra request. However, we proceed forward with this, I would like to have somebody, whether it's the engineer or staff, contact City of Fort Myers, and I would like to know what they're doing, just as a comparison. Because we've got half of Pelican Preserve, the City of Fort Myers. I have no clue whether they've ever looked. So I'd kind of like to know that. So if that's
Yeah.
appropriate, just,
Well,
Tetra Tech can do that.
okay.
and you had a conversation with Tetra Tech since last meeting, letting him know that that is a board direction. going
Yes, and
forward?
I notified Stephen Agapi, our project manager, that we may have additional task authorizations forthcoming with the board's direction of them drafting the RFPs.
And they are good.
We will see.
Drafting the engineering requirements,
Scope, the
Scope,
scope and
yeah,
technical,
yeah.
technical specifications.
Technical stuff for the RFP.
technical specifications.
So we have a boilerplate, general conditions that has been reviewed by Tony. That
It's been updated and revised, so I think we're pretty current on that. We'll double
So-
check that.
Randy's responsible for combining what is provided by Tetra Tech with that boilerplate template that we have. Tony will review it prior to it going out. Tony, we did talk about having like a workshop for
Yeah,
the,
what might be helpful to the board is because the CCNA, it's kind of an odd thing in Florida. I had one of my other board meetings yesterday and people in the audience, our engineers in other states said, oh, that's an interesting proposition where you submit qualifications but not compensation. So we'd like to have a workshop, like a procurement workshop, I think, to talk about a couple of items. One is the CCNA, another one is bidding construction projects versus maintenance projects versus repair projects. There are a number of items I think would be helpful for the board and the community. So July,
usually with our committees and subcommittees too, as
Yeah.
those are standing up.
we're thinking July possibly, if that's the, okay with the board.
But there's another one we got to watch on this too. You're getting into, back in the 70s and 80s, this work was big. Billions of dollars of this work throughout the country. Companies popped up doing cleaning and televising. They were deemed professional services. And they still are deemed professional services. You do not need a contractor's license. However, the minute you take and put specification requirements in that you do repair as you go along, you got to have a contractor and your specifications got to verify that this guy doing this work is licensed.
Yeah, it's still a
You got
repair.
to watch that.
It's still a repair or maintenance contract under the statute, but there's a component of construction repair activities.
Yeah.
So, but we talked about that, but we'll have a workshop on that, I think, for the board in July, if that works.
Yeah, the thing we want to do on this is at least for the cleaning and televising component, which is, if you've got a truck and you've got a jet and you've got a camera, this is not that hard to do. And so you can generally get lower prices to do it. It's when you start doing injecting moles or liners or, heaven forbid, digging up manholes or pipe and doing construction, that's where the price goes through the roof.
Okay.
So if we can keep those separated as best we can, we got a better chance to get this component of it for a much better price than $2.5 million.
So we're good with this. Want to move up to the budget discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we had a motion by Carol and I had a second for discussion.
Yeah.
For the 7 years.
For the 7 years.
I'd say I'd like to have it come back from the engineer with a recommendation, and we always have 7 available. And the quicker the better, because we do need to get that to Raftellus to let them know, is this a 5-year cost or a 7-year cost?
I don't know, Tetra Tech's gonna be able to turn that around in a week and a half. So,
Okay, we just need to vote on it. So a motion and a
Well,
second.
unless Carol
Withdraw
agrees to
the
withdraw the motion.
Sure, I'll withdraw the motion.
so 5 years?
Well, let it, stop it. Let the engineer tell us.
Okay.
Rather than his arbitrary.
The other thing too is if we've got a couple of staff people that are very proficient in this. They got to pop the manhole and look down in there, get a real good idea of what you got, and you'll find out real quick.
Well, you've already given the guy a number anyway to put in the rate study, right?
Budgetary, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I haven't told him to do that over a 5-year time span or 7. That's the difference. So we'll plan worst case scenario and put it in 5.
All right, so FY 2025 budget discussion.
So do we want
Do
to,
you want to recap what we just direct? Do you want to recap what we talked about in the workshop?
I think you took better notes than me.
Oh my God.
So if you want to,
Could we go to the staffing plan? The 2025 staffing plan, it was the third item in the template where you have the percentages.
You mean staff percentages?
Yes,
Oh, okay, that's back to the budget.
yes.
Go dig that out. I buried that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the under the Pelican Preserve Fund.
What page you on, Carol?
It's on screen.
Well, I'm on the screen and not the general fund, but the Pelican Preserve Fund. Okay, I don't have a problem with the 10% for the assistant manager. I don't have a problem with the 15%. I do kind of think that the 45%, which would be George's, and the 40% for Julie is a wee bit high.
I will take that.
Pardon?
I will take that if you like.
Okay.
Why it's so high.
Yeah.
When Georgia was originally
I mean,
assigned,
that's almost half their time.
it is literally half their time. Georgia has 3 subcommittees plus PPAC that she's taking care of. There are a total of 7 committees that we do meetings for, 2, 3, 4, 6. For 6, and 4 of them are Pelican. So 2/3 of her time doing meeting things is dedicated just to Pelican.
But that's only one, those meetings are only once a month.
Yeah, but there's constant, it's every week, so she's got something going on all the time with them. There's a lot of back and forth. It's like herding cats sometimes. I'm sorry, that sounds rude, but it is. There's a lot of emails. She spends a lot of time chasing things down, following up on things, getting things ready. So that's why that's 45%. Julie,
Well,
with
before you leave that,
okay,
what is she doing in prior years? This is all just in the last year. So
this is just in the last year. We've had her track her time.
other
Yep.
years, she wasn't doing anything for that 45% of her time.
It wasn't 45% before.
It was 20%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 20% seems reasonable to me.
So
And yes, I recognize that, you know, I mean, Julie was doing something before, did something fall off the table?
You're talking
And now
Julie
she's
or
doing
Georgia?
It works to both. Works to both of them.
I,
For the past 5 years, she's been in a position and doing something. It wasn't Pelican stuff. Or very minor, 20% Pelican. We recognize that it's changed now because of sunshine laws and all the things that we now have to comply to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should pay the fair share, but I don't think in one case it's more than double. Did something fall off or do we have to hire anybody? And I don't think the answer to that is yes.
So with the hiring of new positions and the reappropriating of their duties, so like perfect example is all of the leagues over here out of the general fund. Georgia used to oversee those leagues. We've since hired Carrie and transitioned that to Parks and Rec. Subsequently, she's picked up all of these additional duties by the establishment of the 3 subcommittees and really those 3 subcommittees. She had PPAC before. So
Clearly, it's more intensive. It was intensive this last 8-9 months.
well, Bob, let's make this easy. What do these people actually say?
Yeah.
What do they, the people that do the work, what do they say their time allocation is?
I got these numbers. I had them track their hours, how much time they were spending in each of the areas. And this came from Georgia and Julie. This is how much
So
time
this is what our.
that they are
stats-
actually
And that's what I-
allocated to these
I don't know
areas.
what else we can.
I didn't pull these out of my butt. These are actually came from our staff.
So, and that was the direction that I know I was like on top of Laura. That's the direction that we gave it last year and the year before. We were not supposed last year to like to have employee track this.
if I can just
Go ahead.
try. One of the options, if we want to get away from picking and choosing different percentages, Pelican can pay 14% across the entire fund, across all staffing. That's another option. But this way, we've been trying to gauge and gear specific time dedicated. Julie, since taking on, we canceled the O&M agreement and all of those invoices that used to be processed by KW
Well, that's a good point.
is now in-house. There's
Okay.
40 that came through just for landscaping 2 weeks ago. So taking on these additional responsibilities, their percentages are going to increase for Pelican.
So the question that I have is.
Okay, yes. And I understand that it's going to increase. And I also understood that this last year, there was a lot of
Learning. curve.
catching up and just figuring it out. But now we kind of got it down to a schedule. I mean, Parks and Rec meets once a month. Landscape meets once a month. Ponds meets.
Once every 3
once-
months.
Yeah. I mean, it
Not
doesn't even meet.
necessarily. They've met 2 times in the last
So
2 months.
I know, but that was because of budget. And they wanted to get the budget stuff done
I
early.
did round down. They told me, I did take that, I did
I
take
mean,
that into
PPAC meets
consideration.
once a month.
I understand that, but there is a lot that goes on in the background with,
So ultimately, this is what we're presenting. If you guys don't like the numbers, we're looking for your direction to
And then
change it.
And I did have a conversation with Chelsea regarding this because I understand and I literally, what I said to you is gonna happen, it's happening. We allocated and we, those are facts, those are not feelings, those are the facts, that's how much staff is being, that's it, it is what it is. And the last year and the year before, when we get those numbers anymore, they were not that high and we wanted to increase, comments were, oh, that's a one-off. We were really busy. It's not gonna happen this time. And it's exactly what we hear today. So we're repeating the pattern. Like, those are factual numbers. That's what, that it is. That's the number. The only person that can control those numbers for next year, it's those committees. So if there's a reduction in amount, we'll see that next year. We'll continue to tally. But I think it's fair for this particular item, because they're factual, for them to pay what the amount that we're being used. That's just.
Every one of these doubled, except one went up 2.5 times. Daniel Potter was 10%, and now we're jumping to 25. I don't think that their duties have doubled.
What is,
I hear what you're saying.
I'm not talking about duties. I'm talking about, we don't pay them for their duties. We pay them by the hour that they work. The amount of hours, we have to take a step back, and the amount of hours that they are spending on Pelican, you don't think it has increased by almost double?
No, I do not.
No, I would say 50%.
Yeah, so
I'll give you that.
50,
I'll-
that's what I'm saying. The
50
time-
I'll go with.
I mean,
I-
a 50% increase over what you did the year before? Yeah,
what,
I can agree to that.
what is, let's make this easy. What does Daniel say? How much time does he spend at
Just-
Pelican?
What year last
What
year?
you see on the sheet,
I'm sorry,
what you see on the sheet.
25%.
25%. So this is on
10 hours a week average. Yeah.
this.
I mean, my 15% is very generous. I know I said.
So there was the thinking done in putting this together.
Well, you're the only one that didn't go.
It wasn't.
I know.
Well, then spread it out, will you?
No.
I'll spread it out, but I'm gonna cut back then. I think the numbers for Georgia and Julie are fair. I did ask them to track. I actually rounded down from what they gave me, taking into consideration that the workflow would.
I don't necessarily want the word fair, because I don't want it to be fair, or I want it to be
Well, they-
factual. So they're
What they
factual.
gave me, yeah, they're
okay,
factual.
then
What they
that's
gave
it.
me was
That's-
higher. So
I don't want it to be fair or a feeling. It's factual. Those are the numbers. And then, so Daniel, like, are those the numbers? Are you?
So I can't talk to Daniel Potter, Public Works Director.
I'm talking about
I
yours.
can't talk to my predecessors and how much time they spent there. Don't know. I know that between C-Click Fix launching and Pelican, and the vast majority of comments that I get through C-Click Fix are focused towards Pelican Preserve. The amount of back work that I have to do.
Excuse me one second. See, click fixes.
Bob,
Wait, I'm
Let
on
him
question.
finish it. Bob, let him finish, and then you have your time. Just let him explain, and then you.
Well, all right, forget.
Oh, write it down.
See, click fix is not a Pelican project. That's all I was gonna say.
I get that.
Correct.
But there's more that drives into that, because that drives the subcommittees and agenda items for subcommittees, which then turns into a backward flow of feeding into the subcommittees so that the residents are being heard. So a lot of that stuff creates and drives agenda items that now creates research projects on my end, or chasing proposals so that we can get things into the agendas, that we can get them through the boards and the subcommittees for approval. There is a lot of time. Think about it. When I need to get one thing approved here, it just goes straight through the board. I have to wait that time frame where you guys meet every first and third Thursday of the month and try to get it through on an agenda item. There's the back work with that, with proposals and so on and so forth. When I have to get something through, say, safety and security, I got to go through safety security. I got to duplicate that item. I got to chase it through to PPAC. I got to chase it through PPAC now to the board. I've tripled my work and efforts. Granted, the initial push to get those proposals, those items back, do the research, go look at MUCD standards and go to, do all that back work that is created from some of these items. I triple my work just to get one item approved through a board, all the way through the Board of Supervisors.
And then execution of said task.
And then going out and then actually executing it.
So again,
So,
what is
yeah.
presented
But
here?
now you have a system in place. You're not accounting for the fact that it takes time to put the system in place. Understanding that, but moving forward to next year's budget, now we all know what the hoops are that we have to jump through before we get anything there. And I think it's much easier to manage now that you know exactly what the hoops are and exactly what the timelines are.
But I don't think it
I
changes
agree
the
with you, but
hoops,
I don't detract from the amount of manpower hours that go into that. That system still eats up a vast majority, and I rounded down on 25%. I spend a good vast majority of my time with Pelican Preserve.
Well, and keep in mind all of the projects that those subcommittees are proposing for next year. Somebody has to execute those, and that will be Daniel and Nathan, essentially. So 25% is
What are
what,
all these projects?
ask your subcommittees.
I know them all.
Well,
Not that many.
yeah, Bob, they do.
You got
Yeah,
you
Bob,
got
they
the
do.
road project?
Come on, you and I both go to the meetings. They do.
Think
So,
the road project.
if-
That's the
I
only-
do too.
But-
I just
and-
don't sit there. I feel
So I could see a 50% increase over what the figures were last year, but not double. And sometimes more than double.
And the C-click fix, I
So
mean, take
can-
ponds, for example, they never needed it and they get everything done. They're changing because we asked them to change. Landscape doesn't need C-click fix. They've got something going with the Bearscape,
Yeah.
but we're changing because it was requested by staff. We can't request things and then say, oh, now you're working me too much and need more money. That ain't right. We're going to C-click fix because it's more efficient for the district. It doesn't help them at all. They still have a reporting mechanism. And I'm sorry, it's just the way I feel.
I mean, but it still drives agenda items and there's still back work that's given back to staff to chase
I don't
items.
doubt that, but again, you brought that up. They have a system internally for doing it.
So what would the percentages be if it was 150% of what it was in this
have-
year's budget
Do you have
in
last year?
2024?
We'll have to pull that up. Just give us a second.
So what I would say to this item, this is an area that we would have continued ongoing discussion
Hmm.
on. I don't think we need to pull up the hours right now and try to solve it. This is an area I would highlight is there's a point of,
Well, what would the follow-up be that you would like with staff?
well, it shouldn't be staff. Staff's done our due diligence. Staff says this is the amount of time. It's up to Bob and Carol to come back to the board and say, based on what we are seeing and what is our.
Well, Doug, that's
project-
not how we
what's-
did it last year.
But we're just.
And every other year I've
You're-
done this.
But you guys are guessing. You're basing on what you think, and the staff is taking the time. They've tracked their time. They're telling you how many hours they spend to date and what they're projecting based on the work. They're using facts and numbers. You guys are saying there should be some value engineering there or process efficiency, whatever, which should be, could be true. But we're not going to make a decision based on your feeling that there should be less work. So I think if you guys were to spend some time, I don't care who does it, but maybe work with staff, understand how they're calculating their time, and then say, well, we don't anticipate you spending 18 hours a week based on what we're seeing. That should be more like, maybe it's 9 to 10 hours. Like we wouldn't do this for any other line item, arbitrarily just change it based on.
But that's what we've
feelings.
done, Doug. That's what we done. We said here last year. Stony Brook said we're not paying for that and everything got cut. You don't remember that conversation? We sat right here and cut it at this meeting.
I think the difference
That
was,
was
is
different, though. We didn't pull the O&M. I mean, that was different. I don't think it was just,
But we did it. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
the easy way I'll do is I'll just make a motion that we go time sheets right now and you get billed for what you get. I'll
I'm
stop
with
this
that.
real quick, like,
It's
just
gonna
have
make
time
additional-
sheets.
It's gonna make additional work for staff, but
But it doesn't what?
it makes additional work for staff.
It makes additional work, but it
And
is,
that's
a-
another
it's
5%.
an accurate way of doing it. I mean, everybody in the world, when you do that kind of stuff, you have time accounting.
What I questioned
If
is,
their records are such that they know, then my deal is I want to stick with staff. If their judgment is 25, I stick with this 25.
as
And I'll say this, I know Doug mentioned let it, Bob and Carol go back and do it. It's not Bob and Carol's job, it's all of our job.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I have been attending to every single meeting. I just don't sit here because it'll be the three of us, but I am in the inside. So it is a lot. It is a lot of work.
And I'm agreeing
Okay.
that there has been an increase
so,
since previous things,
and
but I don't think it's more than doubled.
so one of the other options, which it was one of my 3 AM epiphanies. I didn't understand why we didn't do the 14% across like we do for everything else. And that was something to chew on and think about, because instead of nickel and diming every 1, 2, 3, 5%, Pelican pays 14% of everything else.
It's
Why?
cleaner.
But we don't get the services for the everything else. We have nothing to do with
But it would,
utilities.
no,
We have
you-
nothing to do with swimming
you-
pools.
That's already
We aren't
calculated.
being
in
charged for
15.
those
That's
two.
on
I'm talking
15.
it would be strictly administration and public works, because you don't pay for parks and rec and swimming pool. Cut it 14% total salary and be done with
What
it.
is the math
I mean, it would
like
be
on that?
So math, have you done the math on
Yeah.
that?
What's the math on it?
We can have that.
Bring it back.
That can be our homework for the next meeting.
Bring it back.
I'll just double check the sheet. I did.
Bring it back.
That's a follow-up item.
Okay, and then could you also give us 150% of what was budgeted last year?
Yes, ma'am.
150 or 50? I can gladly do 150. I'm totally.
I'm sorry,
50.
a 50% increase.
Want to make sure. 150 it is.
Yes. I'm sorry.
All right, budget. Is there anything else with regards to the staffing? So we've got some follow-up. We'll do that, those two items on our side.
Do we have the numbers yet? Projected Stephen Bloom numbers with the high water mark and what that translates to? And what our administration costs are? Do you have that yet? Are we gonna see it?
One quick question, getting back to,
What are you talking
Go
about?
ahead. Go ahead.
The
Uh,
what numbers?
The administrative.
if you're looking at almost 50% of Julie and George's time going to Pelican, is that creating a deficiency in their ability to support other communities? My point is, and if that's a yes, then should we be looking at a dedicated part-time resource just for Pelican or adding an additional headcount?
Let us chew on that. And
Because
let's-
we've done that. We have a dedicated resource allocation for Pelican, you know.
hiring a part-time position for that kind of,
I know it won't be, it'll be more expensive. And you may have someone might be less skilled in the beginning. I mean, it makes more sense to do this, but if we're, by having this increase, if it is creating deficits in other areas within Gateway, then that's a problem.
understood.
Yeah.
We will chew on that and we'll think that through.
Yeah, the percentages, Doug, I think I'm getting where you're coming from. The last year we paid for about 70% of a person based on the allocation only.
Yeah.
And this year we're paying for
100%.
more than that. It's almost doubled,
It's almost double.
135%. And I just, again, didn't know data because I didn't know I needed it, but based on prior way we did this. And this was not discussed with me at all until it showed up on the sheet.
Okay, then could we go back to the, of the 3 items that were in the workshop packet, the very first one,
The administrative building.
not this one. That the very. Can you go back to the,
You're not talking the park.
go back to the workshop, and could you put that agenda item up on the screen?
With the three
And
items,
it
with
was
administrative
divided
building parks.
and it had 3 items under it. And I want the first of those 3.
Yep, give us a second.
This. That email?
No, not the email. Okay, the draft budget discussion. Okay, click under that.
Next page.
She's pulling it up.
And there were 3.
Yes, next page shows the 3.
Computer's a little slow.
Is it the Gateway FY25 operating budget
No.
template? That's the first item.
No,
Oh, what else there is?
Yeah, you can scroll. There's 18 pages.
in other words, I want to go to the Pelican where it lists all the line items.
On the,
So the O2. Okay, yes. Okay, go to the O2 account. So the Pelican numbers, and all the way down to the very bottom. Okay, total expenditures. Okay, the capital outlay, the second from the bottom. Capital outlay, administrative building construction, 343,000. That is what we discussed earlier from the memo. That was part of the amount of money that Pelican, whatever.
yes, ma'am.
Right now, it's in here that it would be part of the assessment. That this line item, this is what you're going to draw your assessments, your ad valorem assessments from.
The under other fees and charges.
No, the capital outlay, administrative building construction, the 343. So there were three accounts, the utilities, this one, and the general.
Yes.
I'm assuming that those dollar amounts are in
Yes,
these budgets
yes, ma'am.
here. This total that includes that 343 is what you're going to do your ad valorem tax on. If we are going to pay
I would-
those, if we are going to pay those items from what we discussed earlier, can those be taken out of the ad valorem
I got you.
budget
Yep, I got you.
so that in essence, people aren't going to pay for them twice? If you take them out of reserves, then they shouldn't have to pay for them on their taxes. And the way this is presented
the
here
options.
in both of those three funds,
So you want the option of instead of paying cash through the ad valorem assessment,
No, no.
you want to be able to take it out, huh?
I want to,
Not ad valorem.
I
You
wanna
want to take it as out of reserve.
That's
Yeah.
probably-
if you take it out of reserves.
Yeah.
Which we talked about.
Yeah.
And even if for the general fund, if you do that, you don't want to show this here on the actual budgets, which are going to be part of the ad. This is what we're going to send and we're going to vote on June 6th.
Yep. Okay. So let me clarify. It's sitting right here right now and it will stay there even if you decide to use your reserves. Don't let me finish. Okay. So there's another line down here. If you see this other financing sources and uses. Right
Okay.
now, there's another line. It's on the general fund budget because we've done it, but there's another line that we would insert. It's called, use of fund balance, which is basically the reserves. So that line would get added down here. If you chose to use your capital reserve or your unassigned reserves, or if PPAC chooses to use their reserves to pay for it, there would be a line inserted down here. It would have $265,480 on it, which would make a net zero for that. So we're showing that as a budget line because it is an expense, but you're offsetting it with your reserves, which means it will not be included in the assessment.
Okay, and is that the same for the general fund?
Correct.
Then, because you're going to use
Yes.
your money left over from the money, the
That's what we're doing.
Yes.
thing left over. So you would show that in the general
Yep.
fund also?
Correct.
And you would show it also under utilities.
Not utilities.
Just the general fund in Pelican.
But if utilities uses
But-
reserve money to pay for it,
Well, yeah,
then shouldn't, you're not going to,
but they're not included in the non-ad valorem assessments. All their costs are covered
Oh,
through the
that's
water
right.
bill.
Oh, right.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
that's a rates.
And
So they're a little
Okay.
different.
the other part, Carol, is they just arbitrarily put it to 350,000 for capital.
I know.
You know, the true number will probably be considerably less,
Yeah, I think.
but for high water mark,
About 250,
hope.
260.
yeah,
So
well, I
that's
hope too.
these up here,
Yeah.
all of these things.
We hope.
But that's the challenges that the subcommittees are now gonna come up to get the work done.
So you essentially take $100 out of the non-ad valorem assessment, which is about what that equates to, and takes it out of the retained earnings.
Yes.
It's basically what we're doing here.
Right. It's the same thing that we're talking
Same
about
thing.
doing with the general fund.
Same
So that's just a decision that needs to be made. It's a line item that I'll add in there and it'll offset that cost, but we still need to show it because it's an expense, but you're showing that you're going to pay for it by other means in the bottom. That's why it says use of other funds, sources. So it doesn't use that in the calculation for the assessment. But it's still showing that you're paying for it.
But the
which is
one thing
through
we're
the
not
assessment.
seeing is what your calculation is for the ad fees. The year-over-year change. Right? What's the 14%? What's the dollar value of the 14% last year versus this year?
I don't understand the question.
For the 14% that we pay.
Yep. You mean
What
this
what
right
did we pay
here?
last year? What did we pay this year?
You mean this
What's
right
the
here?
difference? Is that what it is? It's
Yeah.
the one I haven't
I forget
seen.
what you guys,
Yeah.
what were you, 1260, 1300?
Where? I'm looking.
This is part right here. This is the admin. And then the operational admin is down here.
Got a total?
I don't have the two total together, no.
No. We have
So
what we paid in 24,
this is the 24 budget.
and now we're looking at, it's going up $100,000. Is that what I read?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Right here, most of there's a big chunk right here, that's 60 of it. Just looking at it closely, or not like high water. This is actually less, 4,000.
I won't argue about anything went down.
What's the difference between version 1 and version 2?
There isn't much in Pelican.
the
Our salaries
subcommittees
have doubled.
went back and refined their requests.
Yeah, it's
That's
all,
version one
here's,
as opposed to version two.
here, if you look, it was $5,000 for payroll taxes last year. It's doubled because basically the staffing doubled for this year. So we went from 10 to 18, 68
You're
to
gonna double
123.
Every fund? Or is this just Pelican? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's consistent with what the staffing numbers are. They don't. Which is why we're talking about, okay.
Okay. Oops. So again, that's a decision that you'll need to make, PPAC needs to make for how they want to fund those extra expenses. So
It's a whole lot more
It'll
than
go down
extra
here.
expenses, but okay.
Okay, so and then back in Pelican again, we had put in 60,000 last year for the maintenance person. What is that number this year? Because I could not find the.
there
60,000.
isn't,
Which item, Carol?
it's included in the salaries. It's included in this here.
The way it came
That's part
about,
of
Carl, if you
this.
remember, we had allocated in the O&M portion, 60,000 for sidewalk cleaning, which was outsourced. So that's
Okay.
the 60,000 that came out of the budget, knowing we were adding a person, which was supposedly cheaper. We did that in the boardwalk pressure washing. It was 24,000 there. We had 80-some thousand dollars that justified hiring the full-time hourly person by virtue of it. Now it's in our regular operating budget and not an expense where we go out and invoice.
Okay, all right. You're right, yes. Okay, that's all I had.
And we'll go over this tomorrow.
Mhm.
Does Chelsea wants to the notes?
Where we at?
Do I have this sheet? Is it in my package?
No,
I got this at
Kind of
5 after 1 today.
Yeah.
That, and all that, 6 items.
Are you printing it down?
and I appreciate, at least in this version, that we had totals at the end. Because we didn't have that last time. So thank you.
Well, they were in there. They were just here instead. They weren't on your 002 sheet. They're on this allocation tab. They're moved over. This information is now incorporated with this sheet. So you just had to look at 2 pages before.
So on the 6th, we are at our first June meeting, we're passing the high water mark budget.
Correct.
Scheduled unless you choose to have a separate meeting.
But it has to be done no later than the 15th.
Okay. So, and you're not getting us this information till the 6th.
I got it no, you'll have it. I got it at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So it's hot off the presses.
I love the notes in here.
Do what?
The notes that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of time.
Good track.
I have
Okay.
work papers in the background too for where some of the totals came from.
So what do
tracking
we
like
have
the
for-
software and
Okay, that's all I had for budget discussions.
Do you want my notes or you already, because I stepped out, so I wasn't sure you, like from the workshop.
You and I can talk maybe tomorrow. Or-
Yeah, you only have me until tomorrow because I'm leaving.
Yeah. Tomorrow, yeah. So do we want to just recap the 4 items that we discussed in the workshop so that way you guys can give direction?
Okay, so carry over 700, around 550,000 from 2023 to admin building.
Mhm.
And then the 250 or so be.
I
outside.
have a wrench to throw in that. I just have a question. So in the 2023 bond series, under the administrative section, there is 1 or 2 projects that, for instance, the capital reserve study, we put in like $60,000 that we anticipated to spend for that capital reserve study. I think the expense ended up coming out at like 15,000. So we have that additional funding sitting there pending bond council's approval to use for other administrative items.
Bring all of that to us in a revised, updated form so we can look at it.
All right,
I
we
don't
will
want to
do,
look at individual. I want to look at the whole picture.
Let's know what's the kitty look like.
okay,
Yep, yep.
we will do that.
Yeah.
All right, so yes, Flavia, clear on that.
Done? Okay. Then you're gonna follow up with the county regarding the $387,000.
Yep.
Okay.
The
Then,
impact.
For the
Impact
clerk
fees.
impact fees, yep.
and then 3 will be the. Oh, that's it.
You all decided,
This is
we'll wait
the-
for the engineer for the review, the recommendation of years for the CCTVing of
And
sewers.
yeah, the 880,000
8:30.
8:33.
We'll come to you at the June 6th meeting for your consideration with all of the funding discussions.
But we also need Tony to look into the options, I think. Well, if we do a 3-year, can we, is it possible? Like, what are the options for us to do a multi-year contract with,
Well, for rebidding it.
with variable
No,
pay?
Oh,
storm.
that's
No, no, no.
storm.
This is the 883 that you said,
storm.
271 over 3 years and splitting it up.
Yeah.
We want to know what's,
See what the top documents say.
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's both from a fee scheduling, payment.
Lord, it's gonna be timing.
And
Because what
staff-
we want to do is,
well, staff.
ideally, we want to be able to allocate 271 over the next 3 years, pay it on those terms, and whenever the project gets done,
That would be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets done.
Okay, so for the first meeting in June, when will we have the ad valorem tax information? Is it going to be with our packet a week ahead of time, or you
The-
plop
the-
it on our
The
desk? that day?
non-ad valorem taxes stuff will be, which is what this is. I can have that to you. I can send it out tomorrow morning because I have it. It's here, so I can send it out tomorrow.
It's the projection.
Is
On
the
high
projection.
water mark.
Yeah, the tables are in there
First
too for
projection.
everything. Yep. It's all in there. I'll share it tomorrow.
Based on this version 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and can you just make sure it's very clear? I know you'll send a budget doc, like, just give us a summary based on where we're at high water mark right now. The increase for, the assessment would be this amount, which is,
Yeah, the tables are all in there.
okay.
So,
I just want to make sure those are really clear.
Yep.
That-
yep, they're,
'cause that's what's most important. We want to see the details, but like, just tell us where we're at.
Just have one item that's kind of want to bring up for this budget discussion. So we had a staff person have an incident, and so their capabilities of performing their duties,
A what person?
staff.
Oh, staff, okay.
Okay. So we are looking to post the stormwater environmental specialist position, number 1, sooner than later, to help pick up some of those duties that,
It's the person that's all crutches.
maybe.
Well, we did have a part-time position in the budget for this year, which we haven't been able to fill. So
So ultimately, the orange colored one that we were hoping to have the projection for next fiscal year, we're just trying to post it sooner than later to
Okay.
help fill that role.
And with it being approved for part-time and we're over halfway through the year already, we should be okay from a budget standpoint for this year, but we're looking at Okay, no problem.
Are we looking at potentially FGCU?
We're looking anywhere.
Have you looked into what it would take to do an accredited internship?
We can. I know, we've reached out to FGCU to see if we can post on their like job
Yeah.
boards and stuff. So
Yeah, there's 2 ways we can do it. One, it could be a paid internship, and it is what it is. There's no credits that are given out. Or if it's, accredited internship, there's a little bit more work that goes into that, but, they get credit for it. It's not a paid position.
okay, we'll look into that. That's all I have for the budget. Did you have anything else?
I do.
All right. Next slide.
All right. Is Eric Phi still online?
Yes.
Okay.
He's muted.
Can you go to the timeline options? So we have an active bid out right now for the administration building and the site work for the park improvements up through phase 2B. Understanding what I mentioned to you earlier with some new hurdles that we have to overcome, the engineers have to overcome and come up with a plan of action. We essentially had 3 options available here.
Can I just interrupt you really quick? Are these even pertinent anymore until we get some more guidance? Like, should we table this?
Oh, we have an
We
active
don't
bid
have
that's
time,
due,
really.
that's due in about
Okay.
2 weeks or so.
But whatever we do is still dependent on what comes back from the county as far as being able to permit, right? I mean, whether we can join those 2
Well, let me,
permits or.
well. It's not, one of the engineers will take over the
We just
project.
know which one.
So this is still directionally correct. We have to
Yes.
make a decision. Okay, sorry.
And
Okay.
Eric, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, please chime in. So option 1 and bear with me because this is, it's a little convoluted, I'm not gonna lie. Bids would be due and bids would be opened on June 5th. Essentially, this, by going with option one, you would have one project with the admin and all of the site work of the parks as one project. You would treat it as two separate phases under one contract. Okay, everybody with me?
Yep.
Two separate phases under one contract. You would award it with phase two contingent upon us receiving the DO amendment for the park stuff by a time and date certain.
And if that does not happen, then they would execute on phase one,
They're executing on phase one.
period. So whether or not phase two is
Yes.
included, there is some contingencies or,
NTP would be
Okay,
issued
all right.
for admin building components.
okay. All right.
We've talked about the option one between all of us internally. It's doable. It's a little messy, but there is risk for the district. So the contingent upon the DO for the park improvements for that NTP would be by a time and date certain. And that time and date we projected to be by the end of the calendar year. And if we as a district and engineers do not meet that time and date certain, we could put an escalator. What's the,
Oh, that engineering index, there's a, I'll find the name.
so
Or a bid.
So we could put an escalator in there that the contractor would be eligible to have an additional 3, 5, whatever % for that section of park stuff. Okay. So there's a risk. If we don't get that permit, then the rate could go up. I'll pause there. Is there any questions?
Essentially,
I
what
wanted
you're
to-
doing is you're buying time for an extension.
Yeah.
You're paying for it. The question is how much?
If we don't meet that deadline, you're paying for it. Yes.
Or-
Eric, did you have something?
Yes, I sent some emails out while you all were in meeting. I did get an email from Rick Berlansky that indicated his final word from the county that they gave us 3 options. And they're essentially for a grading minor to apply for the amendment to so the issue is that the park plan modifies the access to the admin building. And when Holmontez tried to submit the DO last week, it was rejected because they're not the engineer of record for the active DO permit. Grady Minor is. So the 3 options they gave us to get our DO submitted is for Grady Minor to adapt the changes and submit them themselves, for Bowman to take over as engineer of record, which would involve basically successor engineer duties on the admin building complex. Or number 3, which is really not an option, is for the DO permit to be finalized, meaning built, and then a new development order could come in after the fact. So scratching that option, it's either needing to do a change order for Holmontez to do the entire site or for Grady Minor to modify their DO. There's still some confusion about whether the county would allow that second DO to come in. I guess the first DO would have to be approved for that first option where Grady Minor doesn't. The first DO would have to be approved first, where they're modifying the access. And then Holmontez could come in with a separate DO for the sports courts, playground, landscaping, lighting, irrigation, and hardscape improvements, as well as the buildings and shelters. So either way, we're delaying significantly from these dates presented. These were put together when we anticipated submitting our DO last week, and we're now weeks away from doing that.
Eric, a question. Is there any interest of Grady Minor to come in and do this work?
Yes.
There is?
Yes,
It
I
seems to
did
me
manage.
It seems to me that if Grady Minor was willing to do the work and do it as a change order or a contract amendment, it is a faster timeline than if we have to go through Homontes. So if they're interested, it seems to me that it would be in our best interest to get their name on the dotted line on an agreement to do whatever it is that the county is making us jump through hoops to do.
So I think I can try to boil this down to a pretty basic question. Do you want us to try to continue to proceed full speed ahead? Understanding we have to work through this hurdle with Grady Minor and Tetra Tech and Holmontes to make one EO engineer of record, or do you want to delay until sometime in August?
I'd at least go to option 2 and really looking realistically at option 3. If the county's playing games with us on something like this, we may not even have a permit by the end of December from them on that park. And that'll just screw everything up. I'd
Well,
toss up between 2 and 3.
between the two, how does that change your option 1 recommendation?
So option 1, I'd have to work with the engineers and find out how much time they would need. If Grady Minor is interested in taking lead, how much time they need to tweak and review the Holmontes plans to make them their own. And that's gonna delay, whatever that time period would be, is we would have to work with them on that.
And that would push back the bid submittal date.
Correct, which is why we would, and that bid submittal date is prior to your next meeting, which is why I'm really in need of your direction.
Way too fast.
Okay, so option 2 then would be more realistic? Or are you saying option 3 is more realistic?
The board provided direction to combine the two.
I understand that.
So I would opt for option 2 at a minimum.
And
Okay.
what is engineering? What is your recommendation?
Well,
Tetra Tech?
yeah, option 2 and 3 are related. So let me explain that first. So option 2 was devised to make sure that we get our RAI letters prior to bid opening, so that if it looked like we were going to need 3 submittals, we could then transition to option 3. So option 3 would be, we just go right to that option, so we don't have to delay the bid dates more down the road. But option 2 is the quicker of the two, assuming we can get our permits and 2 submittals. So
And then, Eric, if I can chime in real quick, another option that we didn't even really put on here is stop the bid, stop all of it. And until you get those.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
So we're saying the issue with option 1 is that it poses the greatest risk.
Yes.
Yes,
So option 2.
One's too risky.
so
two-
I
you
would
have
go
about
with
room to
option
work.
2.
Yeah, 2
I
and then
would
3's are,
suggest
then
2.
3's a fallback. Or whatever you.
So you go 2 and then fall back on 3.
What's the timeline of advertising that we lose by doing your 4th option? That's maybe not a bad idea. What do we lose? 2 weeks of advertisement? 30 days
What's the 30-day proposal? I think, wasn't it the initial proposal? Give 30 days.
to re-advertise?
I don't.
Especially based on.
It's been months. It's been months that this has been on the street, though.
Eric, yeah, how long? Because I'm thinking this project in the magnitude, I'll call it the complexities of it, whether or not the firms that are going to bid on it, whether they need 30 days. Eric, what's your thoughts based upon what's out there already?
I'm not understanding the 30 days. You're talking about canceling the bid and re-advertising?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the most conventional option. You know, the options we presented here were based on being able to submit our permit. We're not able to do that. So I ran some new numbers and have some revised dates for you if you want to consider those. But option 2, I'm assuming it's going to take 2 weeks to procure a change order and 6 weeks to rally the troops and get the thing submitted. I don't have, that's just I'm just throwing that number out there. We don't have a proposal from either firm for doing the work.
Here's my 2 cents for if we did, sorry, Eric, if I could just chime in real quick. Here's my 2 cents for if we truly just canceled it. I mean, it's a double-edged sword either way you look at it. If you cancel it, you have all of these bidders who have put in so much effort into the existing bid that's already out there. We've had we're on addendum number 5 right now with questions. If you delay an extended amount of time, well, then the pricing that they, because this has been out since I think March, the pricing that they solicited from their subs
They're
in
gonna wait.
March is gonna,
They're gonna wait.
they may not bid on it, or they may have to go and do a whole bunch of rework, just kind of like we are, but I'm looking for your direction on this.
Well, this is the middle of May.
No one's.
2 months more is the middle of June or middle of July, May, June, July, which is option 2.
Not much room to move with that, though.
Well,
But
It's a start.
it's something to go for.
Well,
Chelsea-
before we make a
Chelsea-
decision, there's a 4th option or 5th option, I guess, which is instead of doing an adjustment factor, you could put a line item on the bid that is an additional 90-day hold period that just has a set cost associated with it that each bidder could provide in their bid. So their estimate of their risk to hold it an extra 90 days is X dollars. And that would allow you to accelerate things a little bit. But even with that option, if we had a 90-day hold period, we're not opening those bids until August 20th with approval September 5th. So, I mean, any way you shake it, this permitting issue is going to delay these dates. So option 2 would push us out to a bid opening of October 1st. Option 3 would push us out to bid opening of October 22nd. And
I would suggest option 2 right now. Give us time. This was news as of 2 p.m. today. That gives.
It's just
It's kicking.
You mean
the-
open the bids on July 16th?
the 5th.
July 16th, correct.
July 16th.
And you have 90 days until you have to award. But this, because I have to get an addendum out
Well,
before.
you don't have to give them 90 days for the award. You have to have another addendum or another bid alternative to give them, have them give you a price to extend it an additional 90 days.
Oh, I'm at the point where I have
Because
to
that's
have,
real.
I have to have an addendum out before June 5th, otherwise we have to
Well,
cancel.
that's why I think option 1 to me is just, that's suicide. I don't think you can do it. At least option 2 gives you a little time, but we need to have an idea of how you're going to do it, which there is still a very good possibility that you'll be able to start on that building, but you aren't going to be able to touch the park because you don't have it.
Well,
Deal.
by doing that, that gives, like Eric said, that gives us time to rally the troops. And again, this is 2 hours old information.
And we don't tell them that we're canceling it and spook everybody.
Yeah. I'd say, I'm,
well, I can't imagine that we are the only project that is having these problems with the county.
I heard permitting's bad everywhere. I make a motion that we proceed with option 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, so.
Okay, so we're going to issue an addendum with the dates presented on option 2 per the agenda.
Yes.
And I guess.
We need to look at that addendum really quick, as to what the wording is going to say of how we cover our sides
On
on the
90
fact
days.
that we're very possibly going to lose the 90 days.
Yeah, I think that, I was gonna say for clarification, I think the board's consensus also to provide a factor in there, either a bid alternate for a price 90 days out, or,
We just need
or
something.
holding it for 90 days.
Yes, we need something.
Okay.
Yeah, alternative.
Okay,
Is that board direction?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
I'll make
that's my
that.
understanding.
Yes.
All right. Thank
Yes,
you.
whatever he said.
Yeah, the whole, included, not just option 2 with that addition for the 90 days.
Eric, are you clear?
Definitely not clear enough.
And get out there and get with Grady Minor and see if you can make them an offer they can't refuse.
Eric says he's not clear. So Eric, what is your understanding then of the board's thought process about either the bidders hold their bids for 90 days or they provide an alternative of what the price would be if the work didn't start until additional 90 days? Is that the thought?
If we give the owner, the bidder, the opportunity to extend his bid for X dollars, he didn't have to put a number in there.
Okay,
The issue we've got is, do you determine the base bid with that deal? I would not. I would take and have that as a supplementary bid that will allow us then to extend, but the base bid would have to be awarded
Excellent.
on the original deal.
Eric, you
That's
understand
my
that?
thought.
Eric?
Yeah, I understand that. It's just, I'm a little unclear on the dates because like I said, the option two, the dates are no good anymore. So we just voted on dates that are going to have to be amended again. I just want to make sure the board understands that.
They do, from my understanding, they do. This gives us time to work with Grady Minor, work with others, because now you have, that's almost 2 months to Carol's point to figure this out. So we can come
Right.
back to them with an update once we've discussed with Grady, Holmontes, yourselves, and come back to the board.
So how do we get an addendum out right now? If we're talking about addendum 5, are we going to say the bid opening is to be determined in that addendum? Or are you going to put
No,
a date certain?
Bid opening will be July 16th.
16th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've done that a couple times already. So,
That should
So
be
you
so-
clear, Eric? All good?
yes, I'm clear now. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Have a good evening.
Next item. You too.
This commander, monthly report? Yeah, you skipped.
Yes,
Did I skip one? Oh, sorry.
draft part.
I really wanted to skip that one, but thanks.
Would have brought it back.
What was that?
The Parks and Rec. You tried to skip it.
Yeah, just take the survey, fill in the blanks with what Steven sent us and put it on the street. And let's get a town hall meeting for the park.
I don't like the visual that we're using,
You scroll down.
I'm sorry.
Second look.
the visual. It
Okay.
should only be what we're focused on.
Okay.
It should be, the administrative bill, actually, administrative building should,
You're going to confuse the
be-
hell out
be-
of them with this picture.
should be gray, like that's already approved, like just show the areas that we're actually focused on. Take out everything else. Like if you want to just gray out future, whatever, but it should only
Do we
show.
want the pretty picture like this and I can have him grade out, or do you want the one phased one
Should
that
be
we've
this
seen
picture
already?
here that
The
we had.
phased?
Should be this picture here that shows the phases of
Okay.
what is actually in this project. In fact, there's a better one than that,
Up through 2B,
up through to B.
not the whole thing, just up through 2B.
But
Just the
you
pink.
had some stuff here that needed to be taken out, because that was my feedback before,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
splash pad, don't put it there.
Yeah, that
Asphalt
splash
pavilion, don't
pad's
put it
gotta
there.
come out of there.
Like the asphalt, like there's stuff that I was like, wow.
Yeah.
keep
That,
putting it
that
here.
drawing that's on that plan
The pink.
needs to come out and be as an attachment of showing exactly like what Doug said is in the deal.
Yeah,
Just phase 2, A and B.
Okay.
Correct.
and shell. I mean, I want to be
I mean, if you want to,
specific.
if you want to gray out everything else, like,
I
and just
will
put future. I
Well,
mean,
we've got the drawing right here.
yeah,
We just use the same drawing. This one here is the master plan. We don't, oh God, we don't need that one.
I will put in the right picture and send it to you all.
Okay.
And then if you just want to email me back and confirm that you're good.
that picture should also, like, the administrative building should be grayed out as well.
Okay.
Like, we're
Should we
just
not?
talking about the admin building should be grayed out as well, because we're not talking about that.
No, I would, but I would change it differently now and indicate, based on what we've indicated today, indicate the cost of the building, which we know is true. However, the decision has been made at this point in time to use retained earnings to fund that project.
Well, but here's the thing.
And just
if
do it that. Just say retained
But
earnings, because they're going to ask the question. They're going to ask the question, and we put the two together. Might as well just answer the question and be done with it. I think what we did today was we solved an issue that while, yes, it is equivalent to the cost of $100 per unit. There's no doubt about that. That hadn't changed. It's the money we used to offset that additional $100 to be tagged on to you. Because we used
Yeah,
money.
just work on the
that-
verbiage that basically the impact, the cost impact of the administrative building will be offset by leveraging forward funds, retained earnings or something like that. Yeah.
that-
The other is here. I just want to make sure we're all clear. I think this, I mean, I know we're trying to be thorough here, but I think most people are going to look at this and be like, like, what, how much is it going to cost me? I think it's, to me, this is,
Too many words.
it's too many words.
The option that Stephen, that the graph, the visual that Stephen sent,
Or one.
just stick it right in there and be done with it.
I mean, I think
Okay.
we want to see, if I'm looking at it from a resident, I want to see how much is this thing going to cost? and how much am I responsible for? Like we can put how much is pre-funded or,
Exactly.
whatever, like.
Well, we have
whatever.
that from
Yeah.
Stephen with
And
option
then-
one.
Impact to residents.
Okay.
Impact to residents is gonna be, what's that amount? What do you have in here?
Yeah, definitely the
69.
picture, definitely the
You
picture.
know, is that where we're sitting?
Yeah,
at?
it's not 69
no.
anymore.
Yeah, I know,
No.
but whatever it is, and I say now that we've got that number, you could almost eliminate question 8.
8.
Because the purpose of question 8 was, how much are you willing to spend? But if we know the number, it's like, are you willing to spend
That dollar.
$50 annually
Yes or no?
to realize this part? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that if I tweak
Yeah,
that?
The
but
last-
the range now is of option 1 and option 2 is $90 to 116. That's the range. Based on what Stephen has given us and we talked about earlier. Those are the ranges.
What, on what number?
The chart
Is
that
that the-
Stephen gave us, he said, option 1 was $90.73.
With-
Option 2 is 116. Those are the costs that this project will create in combination of capital, O&M, and reserve to fund this project. I mean,
I think we'll split those out
No,
though.
because we,
It's
yes and no,
less than that.
because on that, it's less than that, because there are items here that we pulled out and they're still showing here.
Well, the 2,000,009 comes off of this, and how much of that's been pulled out? I don't know.
And that's what I wanted, that's why I wanted this printed, because there are items that we pulled out.
Well, what somebody needs to do then is
Update this.
update this.
No, what I can do is I can, like on here,
This-
it
this
says
is
less,
even
I can
better.
put less, less funded out of 2023 operating. And then that way it's a net like we talked about.
I tell you to get in, no. Don't play that on them. They'll buy that. It's all cost. Where it came from doesn't make any difference. It's all costs. The issue you've got here is let's make sure that we have all costs. If we got it at 2.9 million, which our engineer says is the number, and we've knocked out 200,000, 300,000, then don't show 2.9, show 2.6.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
eliminate the items.
Okay.
I agree. And the other one is just in your introduction. Hold on.
Yes.
I didn't have any trouble with anything else.
Okay, maybe. Okay, no, that's fine. I thought I must have read it differently. I thought it was asking for more input on the design. We're like, no, we're not asking for any more input on design.
All right, so if I can just go one by one, that way I'm clear.
Well,
on
it
the-
does. On in the second, third line, it said, no, go back. The survey aims to gather feedback for refining the design
Yes,
and
That needs to be
selection
changed.
of recreational facilities as the
Okay.
GSCD
purpose of this is-
progresses
The
through
purpose
the
of this
design. This
is to provide
Information.
transparency on the cost and operating expense and the impact to the resident.
Of this proposal.
Of this,
Yes.
yeah, the survey. This survey, sole purpose is to be transparent with the costs with the residents and really to gain their interest.
Okay.
Which, I mean,
Good.
All right, can I just go through this so we're clear? Can you scroll for me. So updated image, graying everything out, but up through phase 2B, not admin building.
focus should be on phase 2A and B.
Yeah, okay. I will update the table. Update the total estimated project cost based on the updated spreadsheet with numbers of self-funded items already. So we have the total true cost.
And then you'll change that carry forward balance, so just they don't think that's
Yeah.
still in.
And that remaining cost, those O&M costs and capital reserve need to reflect what Steve said.
Yep, I'll make it match.
Will
Option,
match.
do you want me to make it match option 1 or option 2 of what Steve provided? Option 1 was using carry forward,
Yeah,
option 2 was
option 1.
bond only. Okay,
No, option 1.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
all right, so then scrolling down, one we're good with?
Any question 1?
I don't
Yep.
have any
don't have any problem.
questions. I don't
Alright,
have any problem with
2.
it.
I don't have any problem with
And
that.
that's a drop down. You need to.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Keep going. Those are good. So then question 8,
I don't think we need it because we were gonna give
How-
them exact
say,
numbers.
are you willing to pay?
It's right here.
Well, that's number 9.
Well, I think eight is to lead in it, is to get the information back as what they were willing to pay if they don't answer number 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with we can leave it in because at least they're saying, look, what is the amount gonna be now? $90 or something, 80, it's probably somewhere around.
69.
69.
No,
No,
that,
it's
that
gonna
should
be
be
that.
updated.
Would be on.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little higher than that. So
Okay.
maybe if someone says, hey, I'm not willing to pay $80 annually, but I'd be willing to pay under 50.
Okay.
Then we know.
Which again, my
Okay.
argument is,
Then we get the answer.
this isn't gonna matter. Well, however much we say it's gonna cost,
So the budget-
residents aren't gonna care until they get their total assessment amount. Like if this is $50 of a, 8% increase, they may not care. So I'd
I'll
say
leave-
let's just keep that in mind, that people are gonna say, what we get back is gonna be based on how much increase in their assessment. But what it won't show is how much their total assessment is gonna be, period.
Okay.
So.
So that's kind of to the last little bullet point for question 8. I'm more concerned about, so then I'll just remove I.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then question 9 will be updated to the option 1 amount that's in Stephen Bloom's
Okay.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then we'll leave an open-ended.
Yeah, and take out the bullet points. That's what I threw in there.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it.
that was just for us to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I
Now, do you want it out for a month? And do you want us to hard mail it to the property addresses?
I would have a town hall as quick as we can to get this information back. And then give them a week, 2 weeks after that town hall.
If I was gonna mail something out, I don't know what do you want people to fill this out and drop it off in the?
No,
mail?
it would have a QR code on it for them.
Yeah, okay, I'm all, QR code.
I
I'm
don't
fine
want
with.
paper, we're not doing paper.
I'm all for QR.
So we would basically send out, I would have Randy put a nice page. And then we would have Panther Printing do stuffers.
Do something simple,
Yes.
Yes.
Or a rack card.
like just something like that, with the QR and just, Parks and Rec survey.
And then how do they get it back?
So all you do is,
You scan it?
yeah, you just take you just scan the QR code, survey will come up.
Or we can type out the Survey Monkey link. If they don't know how to use a QR code, go to this website.
Visit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd go that way too.
Yeah.
You could almost on there,
What are the safeguards that they're only responding one time
I can.
and not responding? You can-
Survey Monkey will like only one email address.
Okay.
Only coming from one IP.
Why don't you go help Trump up in northern Indiana?
All right, so we will look at either like a postcard or mailer, whatever's the most reasonable rack card to send out. I just don't want, that's what I was trying to think the other night. If I'm going through my mail, am I just gonna throw out a postcard or would I be more apt to open an envelope that had the district logo on it?
No, I should just a postcard.
Okay,
Let it have a nice gateway,
Okay.
logo on it, QR code.
all right.
Boom.
Yeah, all right, we'll work on that. Now, did you all want to have a town hall?
I think that's a great
A
idea.
what?
A town hall?
Well,
Yeah, I
I think
think it's gotta be done.
We need to hear.
I think you want to have the town hall such that you can answer any questions, that you don't get this back in a way that you don't like it.
Or if you get it back in a way you like it, there's a town hall for the people that don't like it to come forward.
So you want the
Right.
letters, you want the letters to go out prior to the town hall?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
It would be nice to have a portion of the, let's say,
It'll take
portion of the
time.
feedback.
It's gonna take
Or
time.
indicate in the letter that a town hall is going to be scheduled.
Town hall scheduled on a time and date certain.
Yep.
So we'll have to advertise for that, Tony?
Yes, yes, because the board will also be there by taking
I
questions.
figure out where we can hold that thing at too. That's, it'll be fun.
Good attendance.
Pelican said that they would host it, right?
Okay.
Sure.
Gateway Green.
Sure.
Gateway Green.
No, I gotta stay, I gotta be good. No, not there.
Okay, so
They're
postcard.
too much.
All right. I'll work on that. We'll work on getting that out
All right.
as soon as we can.
So we're tentatively looking for June 17th week kind of thing, or is that too tight?
Nope, that's too tight because I've got to have Randy create something. We've got to ask Panther to print it. I've got to get them the mailing addresses. They've got
Take about a week to deliver.
They've got to mail them.
Okay.
So
July?
They process.
I wouldn't go too far.
I would say end
Because
of
we're making a
June,
lot of
end of
decisions
June,
on how this is going to be
Yeah.
going.
end of June.
Okay, the week of this, maybe the 24th.
It gives us time.
Oh, I've got to find a location if this isn't sufficient.
Just a quick question. Do we want to put in this survey up at the top? You have the introduction, but do we want to just put a sentence or two on why we're doing this?
If we told them we were going to.
No, not the survey, but why are we looking at building a community park? I mean, I know that Daniel did did a presentation, but shouldn't we list a couple things that increases,
To
community,
maintain
Yeah.
Gateway's position
Yeah.
as a
It says
premier
it in there.
community.
Yeah, it says that.
enhances property value, it brings communities together, it gives, like, maybe we should maybe have a couple things in there that mentioned why we're doing this, because it's,
Make it
Yeah.
fluffy.
It's
And as
important.
they always
That's what the
say,
Second paragraph.
yeah, but I mean,
you have to sell the sizzle.
We can, I'll have
You
Brandy
gotta
type
put
something
some
up,
sizzle in here.
why we're doing it, why.
Okay.
Doing it, I will have him do that. And this, I'm assuming, will be an evening town hall session. All right, and we'll invite the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee to it.
yeah, it probably can't be any earlier than 6:30 or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
2 hours.
I'd probably
Yeah.
spend an hour, but
Yeah, I definitely Parks and Rec need to be there.
Okay. We'll see if we can, if we have to, we'll rent the church
You know,
next door.
safety vest.
I want to make sure they understand. You send a
All right,
boomerang,
anything
out,
else
you're
for
gonna
the
get it
Parks and
back.
Rec?
no.
Thank you for the feedback. We'll get those edits going. All right,
Now we can,
monthly reports.
any questions?
For the administrator.
And then I'm adding.
None? Anything for Daniel and Public Works?
We talked to him already about the manholes, getting the manholes done. That's the big one. And then the other one talked to you about is getting the ponds and the cleanups of the littorals that have gotten out of hand. Yep. Those two big ones.
Just the rings and Gateway Greens. All right. Thanks for Daniel. Okay, anything for utilities? Oh, Doug, in the back of his report is the shutdown for the summer schedule that he requested at the last. The Public Works it's the one, it's this shutdown schedule.
Can you
for the
pull it up,
parks.
the utility one?
Yep, this is, oh,
It-
No,
it's-
that's pa-
Oh, here you go.
Is the FPL issue, Daniel?
for what?
Oh, those are your
The,
fields.
the new street lighting and all that?
There.
They are, they
Yeah,
are,
right there.
they basically aren't referring or responding back to me at all. Just ignoring me.
Send, if you can forward me that email and I will follow up.
Okay.
So if you have any questions about the shutdown schedule, this is Daniel's organization of having the field shut down for the summer. Obviously, we're gonna try to narrow it as much as we can, but, that's what we've got planned so far.
Yeah.
All right, anything for Mr. Shaw with utilities?
Oh, back to the fields. We were going to, at one point, talk about hiring a firm to come in and maintain the fields
They are.
and not, did we do that?
Yep. JSM has been doing it since I think the start of the fiscal year.
So how's it going?
You want to chime in?
sorry, Bill.
It's like-
I'm sorry.
It's like Bill. Daniel Potter, Public Works Director. It was a bumpy start. I think there was a little bit lost at the beginning between the fact that we didn't incorporate the irrigation in that transition. We course corrected a little bit and took the irrigation away from Mainscape and gave it to JSM. So now JSM has the mowing plus the irrigation, and they've gone through and they've updated it, put it on a timer, and there's an app that we can adjust the irrigation on the fields remotely. The Husqvarnas that they've got out there, we went from 1 to 2 based off of the need to just mow. And when we're getting rain, it's actually looking really well. The auxiliary side of the house, for accessory work, edging, trimming, things like that is still maintained by Mainscapes. I think it's looking better as we get our irrigation dialed in a little bit better. And obviously with our watering restraints, it's kind of.
Have you had any contact from Mainscape about the managerial changes on irrigation?
We've been notified, but
Notified by who, by what?
what's the guy's name?
I'm spacing
Juan?
100% on his name.
No,
No,
Greg?
it's higher.
no.
Edgar?
I have to go and look back at emails. We did.
'Cause we had a meeting last week finalizing our new baseline project, getting it all wrapped up, getting all the GIS and everything. And we had a couple of little touch and go items. So I've been trying to get a hold of Zane.
Mhm.
Zane's gone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what I was gonna tell you.
We just found out.
That's news to me.
2
I thought
weeks
you were
ago.
talking, I know we've had, with the main guy, it's no longer, you had the same guy,
John Brewer.
John. So
I don't
didn't
know why they didn't call us and tell us that our key guy was gone.
That's news to
but
me. So you knew something I didn't. They
And-
did not notify us that.
But as,
And
Didn't
did
tell us
we
either.
ever buy that mower Roomba?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I was talking about, the two Husqvarnas.
Oh,
So we originally started off with one in the service contract that they provided and then realized that it wasn't able to keep up with the need of the field. They brought out a second one with a docking station for that. That's going smoothly. It started off a little rough with people moving nets and chairs and how we went about that. I think we've worked out a lot of the kinks there.
It looks
Okay.
good though.
Yeah, it's looking much, much better, and it's only gonna get a little bit better here as we bring in the auto striper from Turf Tank, which is on order and it's out for delivery.
So
So
one of the other things that, I think actually didn't Angelo bring up about, there's some articles out about potentially new regulations with securing the soccer goals because kids tend to hang on them and then they fall down and serious injuries. So we're evaluating that and seeing, because the fields are multi-use and multi-purpose, so they go from flag football to soccer, to adult soccer. So those goals get moved around a lot. So we're evaluating that over the summer and seeing what, if anything, we can do to better secure the goals, even though they move a lot.
So that was brought to my attention from my maintenance staff. The article, 20+ children a year, death toll across the nation for larger scale soccer.
Yeah. Well,
Goals
and-
falling over and staking them in. And I brought it back to their attention that, that means that you now have an uptick of what you've got to do to maintain the fields and moving things and coordinating with the leagues. And if we go into that, we're going to do it into the new season so that we can socialize it with the leagues and understand what their needs are and how often things need to be moved. Not only for the maintenance side of the house, for mowing and things along those lines, but also for just meeting their needs for the soccer leagues.
Can you talk to the turf managers? I know that some fields do this, but it also depends on what kind of grass you have. But prior to going into a season, if you were to overseed, I know it's kind of like a rye variation of a rye, but what it does is it provides additional like density. Because our problem is like it's not necessarily the grass, it's how bad the
Soil.
soil is.
Yeah, the soil.
So when you get some
action.
rain, it just rips everything apart, like when the kids are on it. But if we can get in the habit of overseeding maybe prior to when leagues start, one, it helps in those patchy areas. But I think it provides some density. I know a lot of the soccer programs do it when they don't have like our grass is good when it's growing, it's really good. A lot of other fields, the grass isn't that good. So what they do is they just overseed it with rye or something else, just so when they cut it, it looks really nice and green. So it may be something that we look at.
I have talked to a couple of vendors that support several different fields across the US plus locally. And there are different hybrids that are coming about that will grow at lower temperatures, higher temperatures. So you're starting to see some emerging seeds that are coming out, whether or not it's cost effective
We need-
for us yet.
We need something that grows in shitty soil. So, so if there's a hybrid that.
Yeah.
So shutdown is in mid-June, just as a reminder to everybody. So we've got a lot of work on our hands for the fields.
It's slated for June 10th through August 18th
Hey,
right
if
now.
you've got a list of things for Parks and Rec that you need done that we could offer volunteer hours for, there's a lot of kids that would love to paint, clean, pressure wash, anything like that. We have tons of
I
hours.
think he just volunteered a couple of his kids.
Child labor, I like it.
Got it. Okay.
For sure.
All right. Anything else for Daniel? Nope. All right, Bill, you can come up again.
Okay. Sorry, Bill.
Anything
It's
for
okay.
Mr. Shaw?
I don't have anything.
I would try not to use it off.
Have we
We will try
have
to
we
get
had
you.
any issues with the fountain at the roundabout?
Let's, I'll be more than happy to tell you that on,
The other night it was off.
yes, we
Yeah.
had some issues with some timing and electrical issues, but that has since been resolved.
Okay,
Yes.
all
I'll
right.
be more than happy to give you that, information.
Looks nice. It's great.
I think it looks nice.
Daniel's working on a maintenance contract for it, so.
Actually, I heard
And
a
the
couple
cameras?
people from Pelican say that for whatever reason, they came down there and they go, Oh, that's kind of nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's what we built.
hard to see anything.
It takes a fountain to get Pelican people over. Where are we at with cameras on the roundabout?
Laura's contacting, the vendor that the sheriff provided us. Yep. Anything from Mr. Shaw?
No.
No. All right, I just have a couple items. We finally got Tony's, no offense, we got Tony's comments on the RFP for the meter replacement project, which we have since reviewed the CCFR for, that's right. CFR.
Federal regulations.
And had some feedback from SRF. The RFP is close to being finalized. Once it is and we resubmit to SRF, I will be sending that to you all for your review. It's been cumbersome, but we're close.
We ready for that workshop next Wednesday night?
You stole my thunder there. We have a town hall meeting. We're ordering for the pilot project. Vendors, we mailed out letters to, not vendors, residents that are impacted by the pilot project. We're hosting that here next, I think it's Thursday night. Wednesday night, sorry.
Can we fit everybody in here?
Yeah. We'll, I think we had like a 2-hour window for them to come. We're ordering some like nice poster boards so they can see. We've asked the vendor to come if he's available, the box vendor, Roe Haley.
What time does it start?
Let's say 6.
Hold on, I'll look at my calendar. I will tell you. It starts at 5 and 5 to 6:30. That's that. Daniel got PO issued. It's that. Do you recall the gentleman that came in for the driveway apron?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Costs about $4,000. Daniel issued the PO and we're gonna get that moving.
I have a question.
mhm.
And he's part of the driveway. Is it getting into the same time? Because
Not now.
that was
I
what
thought it was a
we,
contingent.
that's what I was gonna say. And I talked to
We weren't gonna
Daniel.
spend the money. If he was gonna
Because
spend
otherwise it's gonna make that was absolutely that, because, and that's why we asked him, because if we do it ours, it is gonna make his worse.
Right.
And when I talked to Daniel, he's like, look, I'm only taking care of this part. I'm like, yes, but only if he does his part.
In
That was
conjunction with
absolutely,
him.
I don't recall that being the direction from the board,
That
but
was.
it was the direction.
okay, is that, we're clear, because if so, we'll communicate that to that property owner.
Yeah, and he was
Absolutely.
fine with it, and we
Okay.
asked him.
And he nodded that he
Yes.
would do that. He thought that was a fair split.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, we will convey that to him, but we've got our portion queued up and ready to go.
Who's doing the work?
Atlantic Southern.
so just wait on the homeowner.
We
because
will,
he did
we
say
will
that, and
notify.
that's how we-
Well, what I didn't want is him to come, because he already emailed us one time asking what the status was, and I didn't want us to be the holdup, so we'll notify him and say, we're ready when you are.
Okay.
I'll be shocked if that's a surprise to him.
Me too.
I know we just had our handyman over at Gateway do a very, very, very similar deal, very similar. And it was $1,700.
Nobody wants to come out for this small little portion of concrete. And you did it in-house, so, I mean,
No,
of
we,
course.
he's contract labor for us,
Oh.
but that was his bid.
Well, that just.
Now's a good plug to
Great
say
job
that
of kicking it.
we're looking for a concrete truck this year in the budget coming forward, so.
But he's been doing a great job of accumulating the small jobs. And
Mixing the
putting
mixer.
I don't know what's
Having
in
a
the mix.
breath
That's a problem.
Okay.
All right,
moving on.
that's the only items I had for now.
District manager review.
Continue.
There you go, Dave, you know,
Oh, twist power.
You all have seen the summary of the evaluation and the evaluation. I also handed out the engagement letter where Chelsea was first retained, and also minutes from last year's board meeting that discussed what transpired last year and the action that was taken. Just so you have that for reference also.
Thank you, Tony. So.
Apologize for not providing earlier. so.
Okay, so everybody had, you met with everybody one-on-one, right? So
Yeah.
everybody already
Or
gave you,
spoke with them one.
yeah, well, I met with them. virtually or not, all that. So I think I would just want to bring it up then,
Thanks.
just the
I know, I think-
Tony's.
Before you
yeah,
dive into it, can I just say a couple things? Do you mind?
Sure.
I just want to say that the last 2 years, it's been a pleasure working with you all, learning from you all, continuing to learn and grow with staff. I've seen staff grow exponentially, not just physically, but, learning. Right, Bob? And, I truthfully enjoy coming to work. The challenges that you've put forth over the last 2 years, they've been challenging. But I'm always up for a challenge. That being said, moving forward, we've tackled a lot of the projects over the last year and a half that were part of the bond series. And actually Carol kind of in my review with her, and I think it's a great idea, really setting some goals and prioritizing, these projects. We have quote unquote so many balls in the air. I think it would be wise, at least from a management perspective, to not juggle so many in the future. Not that we can't handle it, but we want to give each project the attention that it deserves. Again, not that we aren't, but I love working with staff. I love working with you all. And I look forward to the next couple of years, continuing our journey.
Good.
Thanks.
That sounded like a preamble to a resignation.
No.
Hearing too much, I'm enjoying.
She doesn't have permission for that.
All right, so then,
Well, I would like to recommend that we give Chelsea a 3% cost of living increase, or what are the proper words here?
merit.
Merit increase
Merit, yeah.
and a 2% bonus. So 5% total.
I'll second your motion.
Just
For
for
discussion.
clarity, just for discussion, when I think about the way it's structured, I look at merit, and that isn't necessarily cost of living, but we can think about that. But merit is individual performance. Bonus, in my opinion, it's based on district goals. So when I think about it, when I look at also the survey too, I'm not a big fan of the way the rating structure is. You basically have, 3 negatives and then 2 potentially positives, and meeting deliverables is 4. So it's kind of weird how it's structured. But I think when I look at the district, what we did, last year, I think we've accomplished a lot. There are some things where budgeting or initial assessments have increased, administrative building, some other things, but I don't believe that's directly I don't think Chelsea can be directly responsible to those types of things, but I think we come in on budget as close as we can. I think managing multiple vendors, the staff is probably in one of the best places that I've seen from truly people wanting to work here. I can't remember last time we had a staff issue, and that hasn't always been the case. Those that have been on this board for a while, it seemed like for a while we had staff issues all the time. So driving that culture. So I do think there's things to work on. I think district manager here is a tough job. And I think that's where, if you look at the comments, a lot of it is around just trusting your partnerships, continue to build off those. So I think this is always going to be an evolving role. My only comment, with that being said, I think a 2% increase with a 6%, so the range that we have in the contract is up to 4% for merit and up to 6% for the bonus. And to me, the bonus is what the district does. I would like to maybe push that up to 3 for the bonus, because I think we're doing a good job. And I think Chelsea's doing a good job facilitating the district goal. So that would be my only thing. So for me, it would probably be a 3 and a 3 if I were to,
Okay.
make an amendment suggestion. But
Anybody else?
No, I'm very happy with where we're going. It may not sound like it.
You could have fooled me.
I am serious, no. I've always been a very,
Hold on. Okay,
I read between the lines, Bob.
You get those.
I am tough on the appraisals and I freely admit that, but I hope I conveyed and I expressed to Chelsea, I recognize the improvements we've made and there's still other things to do. But I'm not nearly as unhappy as I was last year.
That's a double negative. So
That's
it's
a bonus right there.
That's a positive, double negative.
There's a vote for the 3 and 2 on the floor.
I'll say,
I think it's been
are
second.
we voting it?
It's already been motioned and seconded, I
So-
thought.
How
You
about
made
if
the
we cut
motion,
the
you
difference?
seconded it. I think it's ready for a vote.
5.5%.
Sorry, go ahead, Carol, what did you say?
I will take back my motion and amend it to 5.5%.
But what's the split?
But it's split. I need to know the split. What is merit and what is bonus? 3.
Oh,
Because merit gets tacked on to the base salary, which increases the base salary.
Yes.
Bonus is outside the base
how do you
salary.
do that?
Bonus
Okay.
Don't wanna do
Still,
that.
bonus is outside the base salary, but it still hits my total compensation.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
Just a one
Yeah,
time
I'm just
thing.
thinking that's not
It's a single payment.
correct.
Oh, go up one. Okay.
Yeah,
3 and 3.
Okay.
That makes it easy.
3 and 3.
So you amend your motion to have 3% merit cost of living adjustment and 3% bonus.
Bonus, right.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Well
that.
done.
You know,
So Flavia, with the items that were lower averaged on here,
So, yes, I kind of like the form and Chelsea and I talked about it this morning again. I wanted us to create an action plan, but in conjunction with her. I mean, just the whole form itself, to be honest.
We
I-
didn't revise the form.
Like, to me, the last 2 questions, it should not be filled out by us. It should be filled out during our 101, because then you're coming up with objectives and improvements. So it's a 2-way street, not like how you wanted it, but that might not be the avenue. So to me, those 2 has to be done while you're delivering this 101 with her. But then in giving that, there's 5 of us, and let's just say if all of us pick 2 items, there'll be 10 items to work with. So I was thinking using the rating, I mean, we can still use that for like minor stuff, but using the rating average and picking whatever she falls under inconsistent and creating an action plan for those items only.
at 3 or at 3.5?
Well, so it depends, because at 3, you are inconsistent. So is it 3.5 becomes inconsistent and anything above 3.5 becomes meets expectation? Because otherwise you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just think it's too much.
If it was me, what I would do with this is I think Chelsea can look at all the feedback.
Mhm.
She can look and see which areas, whatever. I think you should build your own development plan, areas of opportunity.
Okay.
And then we should do quarterly check-ins. So
Okay.
each quarter you
Okay,
should
well,
set,
that too. Okay.
you should set up time with each of the board members.
you mean it, that's basically a response.
Yeah, I mean, there should be. You should have an action plan to what, Flavia's saying. So here's based on, your what your observations, talking with staff and what you're seeing from the board, this is the things you're gonna work on. You can clearly see there's areas of communication opportunity. If there's something like accountability, I mean, obviously Bob was the only one that rated you low on that. So I would get with Bob and say, where do you see a lack of accountability? It might be 1 or 2 specific examples, or you could say, I don't think you're accountable at all, but you can have those conversations.
Right.
But if we have consistent quarterly check-ins, and it's just an hour, sit down with each board member. Hey, what are you seeing? It doesn't have to be too formal, but at least we don't wait till the end of the year to tell you, oh, by the way, I don't think you're that accountable at times, or maybe your communication struggles. That way you're going to have direct feedback from us. And I would imagine that communication channel is open anyway, but I think it should be
Even on vacations.
even, I think it should be
Yes.
a formal structure, but the process, the sit down doesn't have to be like, we're going to fill this out,
Yeah.
4 times a year. No, we just have a,
And we talk
have a
about,
discussion.
every 6 months. I said, I'm accustomed to, you sit out, you set your action plan and you have measurables and then you can measure that. And in 6 months, you do a follow-up. And that's what we talked about. Because otherwise, are we gonna wait a whole year to tell her that, it's always gonna take a year?
What you may want to do is you have the job description. And it talks about all the duties, roles and functions. Maybe just insert in there, the part about attending meetings and doing it, just that not less than blank.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a year, the manager shall sit down individually with each board member to evaluate progress to date.
if
Something
these,
along that.
if these are the 14 areas that we're measuring, you should probably go through the 14 and just have a couple bullet points under each one. you know, just like these
Well,
things.
the biggest thing is, I hope that we don't, that there was nothing on here that was a surprise. If it was, I mean, then that's on us for not communicating. If you're not aware of what we're expecting, then.
You're my only oddball, but I got everybody.
Well, for instance, the lowest score was on communication skills,
So I think
3.0.
that's something that.
But that was also her top item that she said she had to improve on, was communication skills. So
Yeah.
honestly, I think we're all speaking the same language.
Mhm.
I think what Flavia is saying is, okay, so you've identified a thing. What are we gonna do about it? And I mean, board and
And
you,
you, yeah.
not,
Yeah.
not just you.
You
Yeah,
agree with that? I think it needs to
It's
be, yeah.
all five of
Communication's
us
a-
and you. How are we gonna communicate better?
Communication is a great one because a good example could be, I may not be communicating, not because I'm not an effective communicator, but the information that I'm getting is delayed. Like I'm not getting information from my vendors
Sure.
to be able to communicate. So it may not be, technically a root problem for her. It could be the environment. So she's got to manage the environment better. Just as an
So-
example.
Well, said another way, I know what I said. I don't know what you heard. I'm serious.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's about it.
So I will work on the 3.4s and less. Because if rounding, I would round a 3.4 down. So I will work on the 3.4s and less and just come up with some SMART goals, measurable ones that aren't just arbitrary. Maybe run those past Flavia and then bring those back to you at, in a couple board meetings.
It'd be fun.
And then separately from that, I have goals that I set based on your priorities that trickle down to staff. So we'll have I'll try to get those together also.
All right.
Thank you very
I
much.
lost my agenda.
We're at district attorney.
Is it time to
But I
adjourn?
don't even know.
Is it time to
You
adjourn?
just had a cookie. You got a little bit more
Just
energy.
a few more things.
Okay.
Just to council, go down a few items. I'll sort of hop on the big thing. On the deed to the districts, went back through, updated the review, sent an email out. Internally, the staff were checking on a couple of properties to see whether or not we want them. If we have South Florida Water Management District permitting responsibilities, otherwise it's about 95% there to get it back to WCI-LNR and get that all squared away. On the infrastructure easement ownership identification, that's completed pretty much, just a matter of getting it.
We're waiting on the site signatures from
PPCA, yeah.
Once that's done, we're ready to fly.
And that's kudos to,
well, have they agreed?
Haven't got an
They
answer.
went to their
They've had
attorney.
it 2 weeks. It's in their attorney's hands. I have not heard any objections.
my friend.
Your best friend.
My
It's with Steve Adamczyk.
Your new best friend,
Yes.
newly best friend.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your budget negotiating too. Okay.
No, anyways, there's more backstory to that. With Genope, I haven't yet, Zach was out for a week and a half and he's been intimately working on that. So we will get with Chelsea next week to try to wrap that up as far as our comments to get that back to Genope. The FPL consent to use, I will be sending out an email. I was going to plan on doing it today, got sidetracked, to the two staffers at FPL to have another meeting. Chelsea came up with a good concept to try to address their concerns with regards to the insurance. Basically asked them, the insurance is costly. The premium's like $8,000 a year. That would provide the coverage FPL wants and have them named as an additional insured. So the concept would be asking if we could not provide that until we provide indication of commencement of construction, like 30 days in advance. So that would save the money until such time as the project actually gets underway. The Milner contract copy machines, one machine is going to be picked up soon. Yeah, and so that costs another $547. They're going to pick it up or have somebody pick it up. There's a second machine that has gone to the collections folks, and I got a call from them. And the outstanding balance is arguably that they say is $5,567. We talked about what the rock bottom number is, and I told them what I would recommend to the board. And the recommendation would be that the board give them $4,000. The district keeps the machine. So the district can then auction it off to try to recoup some of that as a way of settling and resolving that without any further litigation. So if I can get the board's approval on that, I think the board said go up to 3,000. I think the 4,000 with the board, the district keeping the machine, the district can auction it off. recommending that to wrap that second machine up. So I'd like to have the board approve that resolution. Yes, please. So it'd be to authorize finalizing necessary documents on, I'll call it the second RICO machine for the amount of $4,000. Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I have some more additional comments on the policies and procedures. So the idea is to wrap that up very shortly. The
Okay, when is defined very shortly?
next week, I have no other meetings next week. This is one of the first weeks in a long time.
What?
I've had no, my other boards have moved their meetings to the following week, so I have no.
All right, I'm sending meeting invites to you right now.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Contract, Stony Brook Roads and Streets. It's in the queue. I have nothing further on that. Trespass in the conservation area. Reviewed the letter that Ella drafted initially. We got some graphics so we can send that out. That's the issue with regards to somebody is traversing the conservation area between Intelliflex, I believe, condos and dumping brewery, looks like brewery palings or,
What?
yeah. Not in the conservation area, but on other property, but they're traveling through the conservation area to do
And they're
that.
dumping what?
Byproduct of brewery activity, it looks like.
Ah,
Yeah, as opposed to disposing it on site.
Is this solid waste or liquid?
It's solid, correct? It's,
hops and.
you also,
I'm in the beer business. so
Lord,
it's-
isn't it's like a wheat.
Wheat.
It's like wheat after the process, it's solid. But the issue is that they're traversing and traveling through the conservation area, which they're not supposed to do. Pelican Reserve PPC agreements, we had a meeting, I think the board's all been pretty much briefed on that meeting. The idea of having another service provider agreement, if it's going to happen, it's going to have to be start from scratch. So I will put that on my agenda as being tabled until further.
Let's wait till somebody-
I will
Yeah.
move that. In the new PPERT agreement,
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion tonight. I don't know how you do this, but we need to ratify that. We're getting too close to hurricane season.
Well, it's on the agenda for the
next
first.
meeting.
Carol already
Meeting.
motioned to have it at the 6th.
It'll be
Oh, I
on-
thought we were covering it today, because we need to get that approved regardless of the other stuff.
yeah,
Okay,
that's on here for June 6th. Hopefully, if we can wrap that up.
Okay, excuse me.
I emailed, to that point, I emailed Nancy Straw asking for an update of their version of it by a time and date certain. That way we could get it to Tony and he could review before the June 6th. So you might want to
Okay,
poke her.
I will poke her.
It's sitting with Pelican.
Okay,
and remember, there was gonna be a phrase or something in there
the
about
back gate.
opening the back gate.
Yep. Some language that says, well, either that or a phone number and somebody will staff it.
Yeah.
That's all.
emergency
Okay.
number.
Rather
I'll
than
con-
wide
con-
open, we modified that.
Contact.
Contact information. Let me make that note again. Thank you for that reminder. Insert contact info.
I already know my times. I'm gonna be at 3 AM to 6 AM. With the gate.
Back gate.
You'll be
They're not gonna give you the
asleep.
code.
I'm a volunteer. No, not for the back gate. I don't want that.
Sleep on watch.
The committee members attending subcommittee meetings,
I'll start writing the letter.
we'll work, Chelsea, and that will do. She'll send an invite out. We'll wrap that up next week.
What?
The protocol about committee members attending other meetings.
Okay,
Okay,
send a meeting invite.
I'll do that.
Great.
And practices at Gatehouse, I need to change that to next Friday, the 24th, update. The Daniels Parkway Apartments, Stephen Agapi already addressed that with regards to that issue. And I don't believe I have any other items unless the board has questions.
I have one item. Laura just reminded me and remember a couple meetings ago, the gentleman came who lives on the end here across from by the lift station
Yeah.
about the fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to look, I cannot, I
I
look
don't-
every day. I don't know where is he talking about, because there's no way you can go between those pine trees.
Yeah.
And then after the sable palms,
It's,
after the
Okay,
sable palms.
I just
the
wanna
coconut,
ma- I
I
want-
went there and I have no idea what
Okay,
he's talking about.
From what I recall, you guys kind of said, okay, thank you, we'll take it under consideration, and then there was no action on staff part, so I just want to make sure we're on the same
Oh,
page.
this is the guy over here at Pinewood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's,
I rode by there a couple times and I was trying to figure out exactly how, where the
I've done the
lights
same
coming
thing,
in
Doug. I can't
straight
figure
into
it
his
out.
yard unless it's just coming
There-
across the pond into.
No
the
action
back
on
of-
staff.
yeah, exactly.
I mean-
Yeah.
We just had to make sure we didn't drop the ball on it.
No.
Christine and I were talking about it. I'm like, I remember we talked about it. I don't remember them asking us to do anything.
I think he's pulling his car off the deal by the pump station and shining him to the
People
north,
were doing that
to the
into his
northeast.
property.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
still have to go,
But
I mean,
it-
he made it
it's-
seem like it was shining right in his backyard
it's
and there's
not.
no direct
Well,
line
it-
to.
It's ways over there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it probably annoying.
Any kind of sheriff's office,
I'll share.
41771,000.
Thank you.
Well, could we line the area with some large
Nails.
rocks?
Nails.
No, but he asked for shrubbery, but then I went to look and it's like, there is nowhere to put shrubbery, like.
That's why I thought some big rocks.
You wanna
hard
put
wood.
people here?
You'd have to put the shrubs around the LME is about all you could.
No, we're
But-
leaving
but-
our own.
but there's, if you pull it up here, I'll show you, like, it's just, there's no way to rectify it and all that. And because I can't see a car driving where he said the car was driving to,
They would almost have to go into the pump station and then turn kind of 45 degrees to aim at
there's
his house.
space.
If it irritated him enough that he came here, then there's gotta be something there. Maybe we're not understanding
I
it.
guess, isn't there a driveway coming off the Griffin that goes to that area? It looks like a,
Yes, access to the pump
No,
station.
the driveway goes straight out
Right.
to the water,
All
so
right, drive it over.
but does he enter that through the
Is that
driveway?
house?
Unless he's just
onto
pulling.
the grass, but then if
Hold on.
you.
You're gonna see it in just a second.
We- yeah,
There it is.
One of the real quick item,
Let's finish this one, Tony.
So here's his house. The only way that the car can go, this is as far as the car can go, right here. Right here, right next to the station.
Maybe
Right-
that's right.
No, you can't, because right here, Doug, like you cannot drive the car on any of here, like all those trees there. You can't, there's a shrub.
Rough, okay, that's what I thought. I was like.
So he can only go to here and then he can only bring his car
There's
from
no way
here
he's
to here.
driving
No,
back
it's
to there.
impossible.
All right, so no action from staff. Thank you.
Well, let's make sure we understand it. I want to make, unless you guys are sure that's what he's complaining about.
Here.
Like those
Can't you
trees,
shine it back.
no,
Too
so
much
those
blockage.
trees are
Blocking
in the
it.
water. They're literally, the ceiba palms are like 2 or 3 feet from the water.
Okay.
And then the shrub,
So
goes all the way here.
this would be pull off right
So-
here.
Show this.
Which then this shrub is 4 feet tall.
So he had requested that we put,
Yeah,
he had requested we put landscaping, no, this way, this way,
Shrubs
this
and
way.
those trees
To
right
stop
here.
people from going back there.
And
That
here's some
violates
shrubs.
our own 20-foot
Yeah,
clear.
no.
They all-
So how do
Can
you
you
get
send that
back there?
out?
Yep.
The only way, a little bit more, we want to see where the lift station is.
That's all the way up to the left.
So this is the only place you can come in. I don't think there's any way you can drive.
you can't.
No,
Like, I literally went back.
Unless the water's real.
Sorry
No,
to,
it's real low right now and you can't not, like,
You
like,
can't.
there's 2 or 3 feet
Anyway,
and
it's
then
an
the.
enigma.
Well, I'll feel a lot more comfortable if we really understand what he's saying. Cause I didn't. Is it worth a phone call?
Or just have somebody go out there and meet with him.
Yeah, have somebody go out just to make sure we. know what
Point,
he's
point to
asking.
where are you saying these cars are at that
Yeah.
are reflecting your?
We can't figure it out. I don't want to ignore him.
Okay, so
he
that's-
hasn't reached back out, but it
that's-
was.
I
just-
understand.
okay.
It'll be good for us to follow him, just to.
Future board business.
Tony has nothing to do next week. You already told us.
I didn't say that, no, I just.
I do have one thing Georgia asked me to make sure that I bring up for the meeting agenda. Oops. It shows on here that there's a ponds committee meeting on the 13th of June, which has been canceled because they met in May instead to go over budget stuff before the high water mark.
And did we cancel the July 4th meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
a while ago.
So one of the things that I think after my reviews, I think I'm gonna add another tab to this and have priorities.
Hmm.
And then that way, every meeting, we can go over that as part of agenda management. So I will work with staff on putting it, I'm just hoping it'll be a short list, but it seems like it'll be a long list, but I will put that together.
So the PERT agreement is on there for
Yes.
next time.
Yep.
And
And
should
then did
come
we get
through
that
all
back?
Lawyers and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Okay, nothing else?
Anything else for this?
Are we,
No.
well, it's the first one of the month anyway, so we would start at 2:00
Yes, ma'am.
with the workshop anyway.
And I did reach out to Lorna Kibbe to ask that she come back for a 8-hour session, either, I think I said 2 4-hour sessions in September. Just to go over, update our strategic action plan and then to assist us with prioritizing for the next fiscal year. So she's working on giving me a quote and I'll get that in your
I think, when are you planning that?
September, unless you tell me otherwise.
How far along will we be with a brand project on that time?
We'll be done by then.
Will we done by?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do your branding proposal.
Yes,
sir.
fine.
You want to wait till after the election
Okay.
so that if there's changes, the new board is getting advantage of it? I don't,
That's totally up to you. You let me know. I can
Oh,
tell
then
her.
you'd have to wait
To
for
do
the
it
first of
again,
the year.
yeah, for January, yes.
So you might as well
Might
get
help
it
you.
in. and then
why
we'll
would
probably
you have to wait till the
It's
first?
November.
Because you have to change over.
November.
November's the change.
It's 2 weeks after the election.
2 weeks after the
Well,
election.
if nobody's challenged, we could talk about, I mean, if there's nobody else running,
Well, we'll know and.
then we'll know and then move ahead.
If board members take office, new one, 2 weeks following the election.
I'll have it penciled in for September and
Okay.
if, we'll see what
Should be
happens with
November.
the qualifying period.
If there is any. Just want to remind me of one point, that asked the question. So all the legal notices in the paper for all the elections of all the other districts. And what happened to this district? We did ours in February. Here,
I
it
forgot about it.
says,
I kept looking for it and didn't see it. I thought, oh, shit.
2 weeks before the election, 14 days.
We did it a
before-
lot sooner.
14 days before the qualifying period, and we did it once before, so.
10th to the 14th.
All right, so let's go ahead, supervisor comments. I'll start with Bob.
I don't have any to call my thunder. The one thing I do have one little thing. It was mentioned that we have the as-built irrigation for Prado and Pistoia from Lennar. Did I hear that correctly?
No.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody say we had those plans. Because
Uh,
I'm working on here, I'm
What?
getting
well,
started.
I don't believe we have the laterals, we have mains.
I'll take anything you have.
Okay, send an
There
email.
might be in what I gave you and some of the other boxes I previously
That I
provided
just gave
plans,
to him.
which I think are also included in the prior documents I gave. So,
Okay,
but
How are we coming with the scanning?
I have to follow up with Litton Moore and find out where they're at.
For some
I'm
site.
starting to, planning now the landscaping behind us.
Oh,
Now we're gonna do irrigation.
just send Laura and I an email, please.
Okay.
That, we'll get it to you.
Yeah, because there are a bunch of construction plans that show the mains and laterals and other ones call them sprinklers.
Okay,
Okay, the last thing was the FPL on that, FPNL analysis that was provided at Gateway. Someone said, well, you can give that to me at the last meeting. I haven't got it yet. I want to know why we're changing from the cost of what we had to enter into the,
you gave me the numbers. I've got to crunch them with Laura.
okay. Because I want to see if it's justified for Pelican. I still don't know sitting here
Well,
that I'm advocating for something that may cost our residents money versus.
PPAC had asked, since Eric Colling had provided free of charge for them to do the design and cost
Correct.
estimates for the conversion of the rest of Pelican to
Right.
FPL.
Correct.
And I should have that back in the next couple weeks. So with tandem with that proposal from FPL, we will work on getting those numbers together, since you gave us the
And the
information.
main reason I'm asking is when I first proposed this for PPAC, I thought it was a cost savings. I haven't seen that it's a cost savings here.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Nothing.
I'm good.
One thing, fire warrants. How's
Fire-
our fire warrant guy doing?
The fire impact, I have to follow up with him. I've only given him one letter for one developer. I have to follow, actually, it's funny to say that. I thought about that at 3 a.m. the other day, so. Fire impact fee. I will follow up, Carol, and get back to you.
Okay, because don't we have a time limit on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't that coming up fairly soon?
Next year,
Yes,
Next year,
Yeah.
25.
very soon.
they said no more expensive.
No more extensions, unless we can levy the Lee County to change theirs, and then City of Fort Myers would change theirs.
Okay, so make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Great.